disagree with this, but life is not a game show where you guess the name of God and you get to go to heaven. Honk, yes, the name is Jesus. I want to be clear about what I believe. And this hatred of Jews is a hatred of God. Remember, Paul said that we were grafted on to the tree of the Jews. You were. I wasn't. I was born there. So I outrank all y'all. I look at Ben's life and I think if Ben were to embrace Jesus Christ, it would cause devastation to his family, to the people who love him, to the people who listen to him, to his position in the world. I just have this feeling that God has put this guy where he wants him to do what he wants him to do. And as you know, I feel that, the Jews were not abandoned by God.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for being here today. I saw a video of Andrew Klavan yesterday, and today I want to be here to talk about it because I was listening to him talk about Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson, and I noticed something about his view of Christianity that I've also noticed a little bit just in the past couple months over things he said. And I want to be really genuine here and ask questions to perhaps not just Andrew Klavan, but the entire Christian or American community, I guess, respectively, and ask the question, is this what Christianity is? And also, what exactly is Andrew Klavan's form of Christianity? Does it put his race ideology or really ethnicity in front of what the Bible says? Is that what the Bible said? So this is kind of an open discussion. I do want people to let me know in the comments what you think, but I'm going to show my clips because I've come to the conclusion that it seems like Andrew Klavan thinks that his ethnicity and his race is almost on a level where they don't have to follow the same rules as everybody else. And I'm not really sure that's what Christianity says. But once again, I will ask the question to you guys. Dream Rare Podcast starts now. And let me do my presentation first to show you exactly what I mean. God bless you.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble? If you're paying attention, you're noticing my awesome shirt. It says, I love boomers. A lot of people say Anomaly, he doesn't make that many mistakes, but the one mistake he does make is he loves boomers a little bit too much. That's what the streets are saying. And guilty as charged. I do love the boomers. That's the proof. Anytime I, disrespect boomers, just remember boomers, there's us hanging out. The proof is in the pudding. So all these hats, made in America, shirts made in America, dreamrare.com. Check out one of my new God Bless hats. They're high quality. And if you love boomers as much as me, then get yourself this shirt. Put it around Thanksgiving. You'll be a hit. Trust me. Actually, don't trust me on that because I don't know that I am a hit at Thanksgiving. But anyway, let's get to the story because I wanted to piece these together and make my point. So I'm just going to get into it. Here's a clip I saw of Andrew Klavan for entertainment, humor purposes. I was like, I want to hear what he has to say about Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. Not because I like, trust, or believe Andrew Klavan, none of those. I just find him kind of goofy and silly. So I was listening at the gym to Klavan, and I noticed this clip. It stood out to me, so I made a clip out of it. Here's what he says about, he constantly just rails against anti-Semitism, and this is what he said.
I want to be clear about what I believe. And This hatred of Jews is a hatred of God. Remember, Paul said that we were grafted on to the tree of the Jews. You were. I wasn't. I was born there. So I outrank all y'all. Okay. So, all right. I'm joking, but still, this God who chose the Jews became everybody's God through Jesus Christ. And I'm going to tell you something,
So he said there jokingly, but I don't think he was really joking, but he said, I was grafted into this, like you, the Goyim, the Gentiles, whatever you would call them. I guess Goyim is like the slang term. I shouldn't have said that. A Gentile, the Gentiles, you need your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. You need to get grafted into it. But the Jews, they basically have God's eternal blessing and he was born with it. And I know he said he was just joking, which is fine. Everybody's allowed to joke. I don't care. I'm not trying to cancel Klavan or anything. I just want to have a Christian discussion about this. And perhaps maybe with some people here, maybe some people are pastors. They're even more well-studied of the Bible than I am. They could weigh in. But here's a clip. I remember him talking about anti-Semitism. And he basically said that he thinks that Ben Shapiro doesn't have to become a Christian because it would hurt so many people in his life that God put Ben there basically to not be a Christian, essentially. I'll play the clip so you can hear it in his own context. And this is when I realized between that and this, that Andrew Klavan is ethnically Jewish, but he's a Christian. But it seems like he has this different version of Christianity than me and a lot of other Christians, where even though he believes in Jesus and even though he's a Christian, he almost feels like it's not really as relevant as just his ethnicity. So when Ben is a Jew ethnically who does not believe in Jesus and probably doesn't even like Jesus, Klavan seems to not have a problem with that at all. And I'm not saying he has to hate Ben or anything. Who cares? Ben has a different religion. But as a Christian, I think most Christians believe it would be so beautiful if Ben Shapiro became a Christian. How beautiful would that be? A huge Jewish influencer becoming a Christian, evangelizing his audience. I've never heard a Christian be like, "Oh no, it's better that he doesn't become a Christian because God wants him to not be a Christian." This kind of just shows me that I believe personally, just listening to Andrew Klavan, his ethnicity and his loyalty to his ethnicity. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, because I do think there needs to be conversations about ethnicity and religion. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it almost feels like the ethnicity is the religion. And what's the point of even being a Christian and believing in someone if you believe that you already have those blessings just by ethnicity? Then you're on the same level as Ben technically because of your ethnic group. And so why are you a Christian then? Why not just join a different religion and get the blessings that way? This is just the questions I have, but let me play the clip so I can show you what I mean, so it doesn't just sound like I'm being crazy or weird. I'm genuinely kind of trying to struggle with this Zionist interpretation of Christianity, and I'm more than open to people explaining it to me because I don't understand.
Grown. When I did this, by the way, the priest who baptized me said, Christians won't accept you. You'll still be a Jew. And I said, well, I am. That's my race. I'm a Jew. I'm proud of my race. It's a great race. It's done many, many great things, including write the Bible. And, I am a Jew. But that hasn't happened at all. Christians have welcomed me with open arms, except this Christ the King anti-Semitic crowd.
So that clip, I'm going to play the full one because there's 4 parts of it. But that clip came, there's a lot of Christians and Catholics who they think that the Israel first allegiance in the Republican Party is kind of hurting America because there's a lot of people who have more allegiance to the foreign nation of Israel than they do America. And through this whole thing, Klavan, who is ethnically Jewish but religiously Christian, he was saying the Christ the King anti-Semitic crowd. And he explains saying Christ the King to a Jew is anti-Semitism because, you're not letting them be themselves, even though he believes Christ is king, or he says he believes Christ is king. And, I'm going to play another clip in a second. But this, I really tried to study this because, I got called an anti-Semite in 2019 for realizing that Trump and DeSantis were passing hate speech laws for Israel and Jewish people, ethnically and religious. And I just found it First Amendment incompatible. And I just kept getting called anti-Semite, anti-Semite, anti-Semite. So then I tried to study, like, what does this word even mean, since they're falsely using it against me constantly? And the more I studied and the more I listened to rabbis that are really part of an international, organizations pushing the definition, the more I listened to Alan Dershowitz when Trump passed it through executive order in 2019. A lot of them always bring up thousands of years. They say 2,000 years of anti-Semitism, 2,000 years of anti-Semitism. And the more I listen, the more I realize that I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of the people passing these anti-Semitism hate speech laws and saying Christ is king is anti-Semitic, they believe that anti-Semitism started 2,000 years ago when Jesus Christ was killed. And Christians believed he was their Lord, and they wanted to convert the Jews at the time to Christians to believe in Jesus. And apparently that's where anti-Semitism was created. So the original anti-Semites were Christ's disciples and his followers. And, just the fact that they didn't want Jewish people to believe what they believed and wanted them to believe in Jesus, that's when anti-Semitism was created, according to a lot of them. So that's why Klavan's interesting to me. I'm not trying to pick on him or anything, but he's ethnically Jewish, religiously Christian, but it seems almost like his ethnicity is his religion, and that Christianity is kind of just a thing that he says, but his ethnicity is like his real religion, because nothing that he says makes sense unless you kind of come to that conclusion where he's crying about anti-Semitism, which they always say started with Jesus's disciples. He's saying Christ is king, anti-Semitic crowd, suggesting that saying Christ is king to a non-Christian is anti-Semitism if they're Jewish. And then he also says something that no Christian would ever say, which is like, I think Ben would hurt too many people if he came out as a Christian. So it's probably better that he isn't a Christian. Maybe that's God's plan. If you were a Christian and you were saved by Christ and saved by believing in him and believing the word of God and believing that he was God, why would you want someone else to suffer if you truly believe that Jesus was the way? Like, you would never look and be like, oh, it would be a bad thing if he came out as a Christian. Wouldn't you say it would be a good thing if he came out as a Christian? I think so. Let's keep listening.
Christ is the king, and one day every knee will bow and recognize it, because he's not just my king, he's king of the universe. But when you use that phrase to mean that God has abandoned his chosen people, the Jews, through whom he came into this world incarnate, and that he's broken his promises, his covenant with the Jews, you are quoting scripture like Satan does in the Bible.
So, and I'm going to get into this, and like I said, Christians, please have a discussion in the comments. He almost seemed like he was like, yeah, Jesus is Lord, yeah, every knee shall bow, yeah, he's the king. But if you believe, like the real passion doesn't come behind the Lord, like, yeah, Christ is king, yeah. But if you believe that the Jews, the chosen people, have lost their, their connection to God, or they've lost their blessings from God, you're like the devil. Proving further that I feel like his true religion is his ethnicity. His true religion is believing that, not by believing in Jesus, not by following the Bible, not by following scripture, not by giving his life to the Lord and following the ways, but through his ethnicity is how he's getting his blessings. So it really bothers him even more. It bothers him more that Christians are telling non-Christians that Christ is king than it does bother him the fact that, it's like, that's crazy because you're suggesting that my ethnicity has lost the blessings with God. If your ethnicity, and this is a big Christian debate as well, especially dispensationalists, Zionists, etc. If your blessings come from your ethnicity, then why do you even have to be a Christian? If that's what you truly believe, that you were born, your DNA makes you a special boy, you're a special boy, special girl, chosen people. Nothing you have to say or do will give you your blessings to God. You just are grafted into him by birth. Then what makes Klavan even a Christian if he believes that's what Ben is? Why not just be like Ben then and not believe in Christianity if you think your ethnicity and DNA is what gives you God's blessings? Because this is a huge debate in the Christian world between Zionist dispensationalists and, other people that are, some would say traditionalists, some, Baptists. I don't know. There's a lot of different, even certain Catholics believe different things. So this transcends a lot of different subsects of Christianity, but the decision of what is Zionism, is Israel the modern state of Israel? Do we have to worship these people that reject our Christ? Do we have to believe in them, or is our religion believing in our Lord? And do we believe that they have to repent and they have to follow the same rules as us? Or do we believe that they're so far above it that they're almost on the level of God, right? There's so much discussion about this stuff. That's why I find it fascinating with Klavan. He's right in the middle of it with this, but listen to what he says about Shapiro.
You are quoting scripture to your purposes, and that to me is specifically wicked. When you spit that phrase at Ben Shapiro, my friend Ben Shapiro, and I understand this. All of you who love Ben, and I love Ben, and Jordan Peterson, you all want to see them find Jesus because you know what joy and freedom that gives you, and you certainly feel that it alters your relationship with God.
I'm going to play the last clip, but every time he has to admit that Jesus is Lord, or it's good to tell somebody that doesn't believe in Jesus to believe in Jesus, it feels like it bothers him so much. Yeah, I get it. We all like Jesus, but come on. I mean, Ben's my guy. It's it just feels, it doesn't feel like this passionate, this is really what I believe, and I'm glad people are doing it. It's that's the part that really bothers him. And then he'll be like, but this is what I really believe.
But when I think about this, to be honest with you, and I know some people will disagree with this, but life is not a game show where you guess the name of God and you get to go to heaven. Honk, yes, the name is Jesus. I look at Ben's life and I think if Ben were to embrace Jesus Christ, it would cause devastation to his family, to the people who love him, to the people who listen to him, to his position in the world. I just have this feeling that God has put this guy where he wants him to do what he wants him to do. And as you know, I feel that the Jews were not abandoned by God.
So the end, you could tell he's very but the end, he said, I don't believe that Jews were abandoned by God. So there's a reason I'm bringing all this up, and I do want to have a bigger discussion. And honestly, I want to talk about some things Trump is doing too, because that's interesting to me. But with this whole thing, to me, it's very clear that even though Klavan is a Christian, his ethnicity is centric to his belief that he's blessed by God. So he believes that even though Ben Shapiro probably doesn't like Jesus, probably hates him, talked about him on Joe Rogan, doesn't think very highly of Jesus. I'm not trying to, over stereotype or assume, but from listening to a lot of people, this idea that people in Judaism like love Jesus, a lot of them see Jesus as a sex magician, a traitor. Like they see him as the Jew who gave blessings to the non-Jews or gave secrets to the non-Jews and went against the Pharisees, went against the religious Jews of the time, and they hate him for it. So it's like Klavan sees people like that and says, well, if they're my ethnicity and they have my DNA or similar DNA, they get blessings by God. That's what the Bible says. And that's a huge talking point, I would say, to Zionism, where if you talk to Zionist Christians who have these pastors that tell them that they have to worship a group of people that literally hates Jesus, they always just say they're the chosen people. We have to worship them. We have to, they get to do whatever they want. So then I'm trying to think, because I'm reading the same Bible that they are. I'm not the biggest expert on it, but it's like, so are they're on the level of God? Well, no. They're not on the level of God. Do they have to follow the same rules as everyone else? Well, yeah. I mean, but they're not. No, but they're still blessed. Yeah. Maybe it says that, like I said, there's a lot of passages that can be taken different ways, but I think there's a large group of Christians that believe that no matter your ethnicity, no matter how you were born, that these rules apply to everybody, and everybody has to believe in the Lord, and everybody has to, follow this code. And then there's a group of Christians that think that, because I understand the grafted in dynamic to the Bible, they believe that almost supersedes the New Testament in a sense, or that they are automatically grafted into God's blessings. It doesn't matter what they do. They could literally hate God and think he's boiling in a hot vat of excrement, which is poop for eternity, which is in the Talmud, but they're blessed anyway. Even though they think your Lord and Savior is boiling in hot crap for eternity, then they're still blessed by him. The same, possible. I mean, God works in mysterious ways. I understand that. And, everything happens for a reason. But as far as, I don't know, like I read part of Revelation and it says, there are those who say they are, but are not. I will make them of the synagogue of Satan. And to me, that doesn't say that God is blessing them just because of their DNA. It says, the ones who are not doing what I want, they are of the devil. So I don't see that in the Bible where it says that there's an ethnicity that could think Jesus is boiling in hot poop for eternity, but that still makes them God-like, and they're still God level where they don't actually have to follow any rules of anyone else. And I know that some Christians do believe that, like that they're just special, and that no matter what they do, then they always get blessed. Although I would say historically, if you listen to, people like Randy Fine, and he says, we've been thrown out of hundreds of countries. Okay. I mean, I guess everything will get to a point where now they have Israel, etc. So it's like, everything happens, and then now they have their own country. So I get the dynamic of like not fitting in, now having your own place. But this idea that no matter what you do, that God will always bless you, possible, maybe, but this is all I'll say to Klavan, because like I said, there's going to be people that will make their case for both sides in the comments, and I'm hoping for that. But what does it mean to be an ethnically Jewish Christian who believes that your ethnicity is what grafts you into God's blessings, not your religion of believing in him and following it? Doesn't, like, why even then follow it? Why, like, and this is what a lot of people I think are coming to the conclusion of, where it's like they're so ethnocentric and in a lot of cases so Israel centric. They're putting Israel above America, their ethnicity above Christianity. And I'm not, listen, ethnicity and religion are two different things. And I think it's totally okay to love your ethnicity and understand that certain things, when it comes to ethnicity, like demographic shift in America, like whether people are Christian or not, there's still consequences to that. So I think it's totally okay to talk about ethnicity. Like, I don't think you're a racist if you talk about it, but I'm just confused at a Christian who thinks that they're like, I don't think my ethnicity is why I get blessed. Like, I don't think any of my ethnic groups like graft me into God's blessings for eternity, and I don't have to follow his rules or believe in him. That's not what I believe. But it seems like Klavan does believe that. So that's where I'm just wondering. It's like, so Ben is blessed forever, you think, even though he doesn't believe in Jesus. So why do you, what does it mean to believe in Jesus if believing in Jesus to you doesn't really mean that much? Because someone of your ethnicity that doesn't believe in him gets the same blessings as you, then how is believing in him how you get your blessings in the first place? And the more Andrew Klavan talks, the less I actually believe he thinks what he's saying he thinks. It's just like everything revolves around his ethnicity. Everything revolves around the country that he's always talking about. And any sort of contentious point where it becomes that and that becomes super clear. That's how I got to the path that I'm on. For those wondering, probably not many, but to those who are, I don't care about other countries, what they're doing, even certain wars. Like, I don't wake up and think about that. But when I noticed that something would happen and Zionist Republicans, and in some case Zionist Democrats, I didn't even know what the word Zionism meant, but at the time, these Israel first politicians would pass a speech law that went against my constitution in America. I said I don't agree with it. They called me an anti-Semite. That's when I realized so many Zionists prioritize Israel over America. It's not like I just woke up and thought this for no reason. Like, they're always like, oh, everybody's so anti-Semitic. And I don't like, yes, some people go too far. Some people say too much. I get it. Like, there's some dicks out there, and I don't subscribe to everything everyone's saying all the time. But if you want to have an honest conversation about why so many people now are critical of the Israel lobby and critical of U.S. media hosts who are like Israel first, it's because when these two things happen at the same time, they always prioritize Israel over America. Well, this would be bad for our country, bad for our constitution, make absolutely no sense to everything we've ever said about hate speech and speech laws and policing speech. Everything we've ever said, this goes against, but we're still going to do it for Israel and Jewish people. It's kind of weird. When Mali won his election in Argentina, people were like, "Do you think he's going to do a good job? Do you think he's this? Do you think he's that?" I said, "I don't know. Let's see. You know, libertarianism is interesting. I think it's it can do wonders for a country if it's done right." But then I saw him go to the Wailing Wall and start crying and hugging the wall and acting like I've never seen Mali as happy as he was when he was hugging the wall in Israel. And I was like, that's kind of weird, but okay. And then he went to America and he started visiting rabbis and rabbi graves. And I'm like, all right, this guy's like really tied into that. But he never said he was. And then like a year later, he was like, oh yeah, I'm Jewish. But he never like said he was when he was running. Not that I care, but it's like, people are like, do you think he's going to do a good job? And I'm like, some people were saying I was saying too much or you're being rude. But here's what I told him. I said, listen, I don't care what race somebody is. I don't care if they're Zionist or not. Like, if he wants to believe in Israel as the leader of Argentina, why would I care? But if you're asking me for my analysis, one thing that I've noticed in American politics is pretty much everybody who's Zionist, including Trump, DeSantis, and my favorite Zionists in the Republican Party, they all prioritize Israel over America. All of them. I like DeSantis. He passes speech laws for Israel. I like Trump in some ways I don't. He passed a speech law. I've never found a single Zionist in media or in politics that actually prioritizes America over Zionism. They all play stupid on the speech laws. They all act like they don't see it. They all smear the people who are talking about it. So it's just pattern recognition where it's like, do I think Mali will be a good leader? I hope so, but I yet have seen a Zionist who prioritizes their country and their people over Zionism. So when I see more of that, then I'll believe that it could coexist. But until I do, then no, I don't believe in Mali, and I'm highly suspicious of him. And then you fast forward 3 or 4 years, and we have to bail them out to $40 billion. Would Trump be bailing out Argentina if he had a different foreign policy? I don't think so. There was a video of Lindsey Graham recently, because a lot of the people that are Zionists in Republican politics, they go, oh, I can't wait for people to try to make Venezuela about Israel. I'm not saying it's only about Israel, because it's about Iran, it's about Russia, it's about oil. There's a lot of things involved. But Lindsey Graham was on some news thing saying, you know, if we fight Venezuela, it will weaken Hezbollah in Lebanon. It'll weaken Hezbollah in Lebanon, so we need to fight Venezuela. Who does weakening Hezbollah, like, that's what Israel wants to do. You know, they did the whole pager thing out there. I've never been to Lebanon. I don't know anything about it, but it's like we're attacking Venezuela so there always is a connection. I'm not saying every single time, but it's like nearly every single time there is a connection to what we're doing when it doesn't make sense and how it relates to our foreign policy, which, you know, one of the centers of that right now is our relationship with Israel. So, you know, that's all I'm trying to really say to people is, if people said, I love Israel, I want to fund Israel, I think I want them to beat up Hamas, I don't care. Like, why would I care about that? It's more every single person in the media that I've ever seen, every single person in politics, when there's a fork in the road and it's like, should I do what's right for my people, my country, my state, or should I pass some obscure international hate speech law for Israel that everybody's passing? I'm going to pass the obscure hate speech law that goes against all of my morals and values. They all do it. Name a Republican. DeSantis did it. Trump did it. Kristi Noem did it. Youngkin did it. Kemp did it. Eric Adams did it. Hochul did it. Schumer did it. Here's the list of politicians that I know in the Republican Party that didn't do it. Matt Gaetz got thrown out of his position. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, right? There's not many others, okay? So that's why they're trying to throw them out too. That's just an observation. And when it comes to this Klavan stuff, it's the same sort of thing. I personally don't. There are Christians that say ethnicity doesn't matter at all because Christian-wise, it doesn't. Like, a lot of Christians believe it's not about ethnicity, it's about your belief, and we're all God's children, which I agree with. But, like, even if you're a Christian, like, do you not notice the difference between India and Africa and Europe and Asia and certain neighborhoods in America and others? Like, are we going to act like Dearborn, Michigan's exactly how it was 60 years ago? So me personally, I think you can be a Christian who believes in God and has faith, but at the same time can notice, ethnic realities and say something about it without being a racist or without being anti-Christian. So I have no issue with Andrew Klavan loving his ethnicity. I have no issue with him, holding it down for his ethnicity, having loyalty to it, believing in it, being proud of it. I have no problem with that. I'm just raising the question and a sincere question, because what Klavan thinks about his race as far as Christian religion is the same thing that dispensationalists and Zionists believe, where it's like there's an ethnic group of people that is basically on the level of God, that doesn't need to listen to God, that doesn't need to believe in God, that doesn't need to like God, but they still get God's blessings anyway. And, even though he believes in Jesus, so he says, it's actually his ethnicity is what really puts him on that pedestal. And even if for some reason he didn't believe in Jesus Christ, then he would still have the blessings of God because of his ethnicity. And I'm going to play these two clips again for people who just joined. This is the first one I saw yesterday where he was just joking. And then I'll play the clip of where he's not really just joking. He literally admits that's exactly what he believes.
I want to be clear about what I believe. And this hatred of Jews is a hatred of God. Remember, Paul said that we were grafted on to the tree of the Jews. You were. I wasn't. I was born there. So I outrank all y'all. Okay. So, all right. I'm joking, but still, this is.
He's not joking. He just said he was joking because he said it out loud. And he's like, wait, people are going to figure out what I actually think, which is like, I outrank you because of my race and Christianity, because I was grafted into God's blessings based off my ethnic group, not off of my belief in Jesus. I'm just kidding, said Andrew Klavan. But he literally admitted when saying he thinks it's anti-Semitic to say Christ is king to Ben Shapiro, because if Christians pay attention, and I should have the clips loaded up, but if you listen to the people pushing these international hate speech laws, they keep saying thousands of years ago is when 2,000 years ago is when anti-Semitism started. What do you mean by that? And you pry further and they say, well, Jesus was murdered. Jesus's disciples believed he was Lord, and they started persecuting Jews because Jews didn't believe that Jesus was the Messiah. So the original anti-Semites were actually the original Christians, in their words. Do you understand what I'm piecing together now? You have, I'll play this clip first.
But when I think about this, to be honest with you, and I know some people will disagree with this, but life is not a game show where you guess the name of God and you get to go to heaven. Honk, yes, the name is Jesus. I look at Ben's life and I think if Ben were to embrace Jesus Christ, it would cause devastation to his family, to the people who love him, to the people who listen to him, to his position in the world. I just have this feeling that God has put this guy where he wants him to do what he wants him to do. And as you know, I feel that, the Jews were not abandoned by God.
So he lets the truth out at the end. He doesn't believe that they were abandoned by God. So even though Ben doesn't believe in Christianity or Christ or any of that, Ben's blessed anyway. So why come out as a Christian and hurt his friends and family? How many Christians do you know that say, hey, don't be a Christian because it'll bother your friends and family, and it's just better to not be I've never heard a single Christian say that, like, especially Ben Shapiro. It's going to hurt so many people. Who's it going to hurt, Andrew? Who is Ben Shapiro coming out as a Christian going to hurt? Is it going to hurt his Israeli supporters and his Judaism supporters? Because Christians would love it. Americans would love it. His audience would majority like it, because I would guess a majority of his audience is Christian. It would bother the Israel firsters, the people that don't like Christians, the people that don't like Christ, the people that would rather people not be Christians. That's why would that hurt? I've never heard a single Christian be like, yeah, don't come out, don't be a Christian. It's better if you don't. You got the blessings anyway. You don't want to like hurt who? Most of his audience would like it. Most of the country would like it. Most of his fan base would like it. Who would it bother? The country that you guys can't stop talking about, that you definitely don't like that much. Like, it's just so obvious. It's just so obvious. So, like, I listen to Klavan, and I don't know how he thinks he's coming across, because, he invited me on his show like 7 years ago or so. It's been a while. Appreciate that, Andrew. Thank you. I don't dislike the guy as a person or anything, but when I listen to him talk, I'm like, does he realize that smart people and pretty much everybody at this point, like, they could see through, he's like holding, like the energy is just like, so, like, he just feels so uncomfortable when he says it. It's like, yeah, Christ is king, right? Christ is king. Yeah. We know every knee will bow, every knee will bow. We know, but I believe Ben is blessed because of his ethnicity. It's like we could see through the whole energy of like you cringing when you have to say certain stuff. Hold on a second. Sorry, I just got a spam call. I need to turn my ringer off. Apologize about that. But anyway, it's like we can feel the energy of like the part that seems to really bother you is people saying Christ is king to your ethnic group that doesn't believe in Christ, and then the part that you're like murmuring out real quick because you like don't want to admit it, but you want to admit it, is like that you believe they're blessed anyway. So that's my question. And once again, Christians in the comments, let me know what you think. Does the Bible say that there's a group of people that will be blessed anyway and don't really have to be Christians in order to get God's blessings, even to the extent that they could hate Christ, think that he's boiling in hot poop for eternity, and despise him, and then teach their children to spit on the ground when pastors walk by because they're so disgusted by Jesus and they think he's a traitor and an evil person? Can you do all those things and still be blessed by God? Do you have to repent like everybody? I'm not saying it's like the path of repentance is impossible. For everybody, it's possible. But like, do you have to repent like everybody else? Or does your DNA and your ethnicity guarantee you automatic blessings from the Lord forever just because of your group? Is that what the New Testament says? Does the Old Testament say that? Does the New Testament prove the Old Testament wrong? Is anybody paying attention to this stuff? Like I said, when I talk to Zionist Christians, like my friends and stuff, and I'm trying to keep it simple, I literally just say, like, have you read the international hate speech laws for Jewish people in Israel, the IHRA speech rules that are being passed into other countries, and people are going to jail for them in other countries, and in America they're just being like shoved into law, and I'm guessing eventually they're probably going to try to arrest people if they can. But it's like, have you read them? Because they mention Jesus. They say that saying blanks killed Jesus is a form of anti-Semitism. It's classic anti-Semitism. And then when Christians realized that, Charlie Kirk realized it, Matt Gaetz realized it, they were like, wait, why is the Bible anti-Semitic according to these speech rules? You're not getting it. They think the original Christians were the original anti-Semites. They think the story of who killed Jesus is anti-Semitism, and they don't want you to talk about it because they just want to control you. So, when it comes to someone like Klavan, ethnically this, religiously this, who is he siding with? He's not siding with the religion. He's siding with the ethnicity. He thinks his ethnicity essentially is superseding that. And I know there's a lot of Christian Gentiles that believe the same thing. They do believe this as well. And, I'm willing to see a discussion about it, but it's just hard for me to believe that a group of people could hate Jesus, spit on the ground when you talk about him, and that they're going to be eternally blessed forever, and they don't have to repent or they don't have to do what everyone else has to do. And if I'm wrong, if that's the religion of Christianity, then I guess I missed something, or I'm not fully understanding it. So I just find it interesting. But I once again, I do believe that Klavan is pretty clear about what he thinks, and he thinks that his ethnicity grafts him into God's blessings, and he didn't lose the blessings. Where, that's a Christian debate. They say, yeah, they were blessed, but they lost them rejecting God. They rejected God, they lost his blessings, and now in order to get the blessings back, they have to repent, and just like everyone else on earth. And then there's other people who say they don't have to repent, they don't have to believe, they don't have to like them, they don't have to follow the rules. They're just automatically grafted in forever. Klavan believes what a lot of even Gentile, Zionist dispensationalists believe. And I find it interesting because I don't see it that way. But I'm always willing to have a discussion about it or read the top comments if someone can explain how that makes sense. But it never really did to me. And the more I've looked into it and think about it, I'm like, I'll say this to like Zionist Gentiles or whatever. I'll be like, do you think your religion requires you to infringe on your First Amendment to pass speech laws for an ethnic group that thinks your Lord is boiling in hot excrement, and then you need to pass a speech law in America that you wouldn't even pass for your own religion and your own race that mentions Jesus? You want to say in a speech law, pass into law, that talking about the Bible, biblical discussion about who killed Jesus is now anti-Semitism if you say the wrong thing, and it's essentially hate speech by the government. Why would you do I get why so many people think these people are cattle. It makes sense to me. I'm not even hating. It's like you are basically cattle if you're so retarded that you're like, my religion calls me to infringe on the First Amendment against my religion and against my Lord. You wouldn't even do that for your own religion. There's Christians who wouldn't pass speech laws for Christianity, but they'll pass speech laws for people that hate them. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's ridiculous. It's like, no wonder your country's falling apart. You've been psyoped into passing speech laws against your own religion with your Lord and Savior's name in the speech law. It's literally the invert of like a blasphemy law, right? If you're like a hyper nationalist Christian who doesn't believe in the First Amendment, Christian and Catholic societies will pass speech laws where you can't blaspheme Jesus Christ. I'm not saying that's right. I don't think it's specifically American, but it's like that would make more sense for a Christian to do. Like, hey, we're protecting the name of Jesus Christ. Don't say it in vain. Christians in America, the Zionist dispensationalists who have been completely brainwashed by politicians like Trump and DeSantis, they're like, no, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to pass a speech law, not to stop people from blaspheming it, but to stop Christians from talking about the death of Christ, because that's now deemed anti-Semitism by a group of people who think that anti-Semitism started 2,000 years ago when Jesus was killed and people wanted people to be Christians. Make it make sense. You understand what I'm saying? It's so obvious to anybody with half a brain cell, but there's 50, 60 years of programming that goes into this, not just mainstream media programming, not just Trump worship and DeSantis worship programming, but also religious programming where people literally think their Bible calls them to do that. So how are you going to, how is someone my age going to convince someone 55 that has been taught this since they were 20 years old? Like, they're not going to listen to me. They're not even considering it. It's almost like they think I'm blaspheming their religion, when in reality, I think they're doing the inversion of their religion. I know that the first commandment says, thou shalt put no other gods before me, or some version of that, depending what Bible you read, because the translation is slightly different, but it's the first of the 10 commandments, I believe. You can't put another God before your Lord. How could you think that a group of people that hates him is on his level, or that you need to pass a speech law that says Jesus in it for one group of people? Like, how I don't know that that's a direct violation of the First Amendment, but it's pretty damn close. It's like, I don't think your Lord commands you to pass speech rules to stop talking about the Bible because it bothers a certain group of people who hate him. It's like so obvious. That's why I don't understand. But a lot of things are really obvious in this world, and liberals can't seem to figure it out. And, it's like 1 + 1 is 5. There's no difference between men and women in sports. Feminism is on its 8th wave. Everybody's retarded. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to say that it's just like one group of people that can't figure stuff out. The whole world has gone mad. And, there's 50,000 things you could talk about of people not understanding very simple stuff. However, that's my show for today. I'm going to talk about something else real quick, and let me know in the comments what you think about that segment. Did I see Bryce Mitchell take back his support of Trump? 100%. Bryce Mitchell, not Sean Strickland, because I think he just endorsed Trump in a weird way, but everybody's waking up to the, how America really works. And Bryce is, although people think he's really dumb and whatever, I think Bryce is pretty smart. So he sees right through Trump. He understands who Trump works for, and he gets the dynamic of who's lobbying Trump. So I think, most people are waking up to that reality. It's obvious. And one thing I will say too, that I think even people that maybe they watched me a long time ago and they don't like what I'm saying now, one thing you have to admit is that I was way ahead of the curve on this one, and I did kind of predict all of this stuff happening. So not to say I'm a prophet or anything, because I don't think that's the case, but if I was talking about this in 2019 and you were saying I'm an anti-Semite, shut up, whatever, and now the entire world is talking about it, and everyone's getting outnumbered. Dinesh D'Souza's outnumbered. Ted Cruz is outnumbered. It's not just bots. They're asking questions to JD Vance at Turning Point. Like, this is the reality of what everyone thinks now. It was always going to end this way because it's the truth. Like, if I'm wrong, then it doesn't matter. But if what I'm saying is how politics works, then everyone's going to figure it out. I wasn't saying it because I was mean. I just noticed, like, if they were passing Qatar or Saudi Arabia or Canadian speech laws all over the world, then I would think Qatar or Saudi Arabia was controlling our country. Like, if Trump passed a Qatari speech law with a bunch of Qataris, I'd be saying the same thing. But it's not. It was Jewish Israeli speech laws in the White House that he passed for Israel and religious and non-religious Jews. Not everybody, but the ones that are paying Trump. And then that's when I started talking about it. It's like, I wouldn't want them to pass Saudi Arabian speech laws or Muslim speech laws. Like, that's not what I want in America, but that's not what Trump's doing. DeSantis is doing. And anybody smart enough can figure out over time that this seems to be the obvious reality of American politics. With that being said, I do want to talk about Trump because I talked about it a few days ago, but I do think that this is the defining moment in his career. It might not stop him from winning or the next Republican from winning, because we have to remember politics is so fake and gay that it's like, a Republican can always beat a Democrat because Democrats are really dumb. So, there's always going to be a this and a that and a moment where you want to vote. So I'm not saying it's going to be the end of the Republican Party by any means, because they're a step ahead of the Democrats when it comes to reality. But if you actually like Trump and believe in Trump and care about Trump, or think that he still isn't a total puppet, the defining moment of his career is going to be right now what he's doing with the West Bank. He said many times that he doesn't want Israel to take the West Bank and they can't have the West Bank. Trump's biggest donor wants the West Bank, probably paid him to talk about the West Bank. And I don't think you could take hundreds of millions of dollars and just go back on what you said, but who knows what he said behind closed doors. JD Vance constantly says, we're not controlled by Israel. But we don't want them to have the West Bank. They're not getting the West Bank. Personally, I don't know much about the West Bank, so it's not like I'm fighting over the territory or anything. But if Trump and JD Vance say that they can't have it and they don't want it, and it's very crucial to the peace deals that they did, and Israel just keeps slaughtering people and taking the West Bank, then Trump is nothing. Trump is literally a puppet. Trump has nothing. If he actually successfully can somehow stand up against Israel and tell them no and get them to listen on something, then clearly America has some sort of leverage over Israel. I personally believe that Israel has all the leverage over America, and Trump is a useless puppet who isn't even trying to do that much. With that being said, I do find this as the most crucial turning point of his entire administration. Will he tell them no? Can he tell them no? If he can successfully tell them no and they have to listen somehow, or they do listen, then Trump is somewhat of the real deal. And if they just keep killing people and don't listen to him at all, and he just flips his opinion in 2 weeks and says, oh, yeah, we got to do what they say, then what's the point of Trump? So I'm very interested in what he does here, because this is really it. I've never seen him even pretend to take a stand against Israel. Now that he is, like, do you mean it? Are you really America first? Or are you just rolling over and letting them do whatever? So I really want to look at that. That's, to me, like the only thing that matters as far as like who Trump really is. All this other stuff, he's such a good showman. He's such an interesting guy, but it's like he shakes hands with Xi. I thought, not trying to be a dick, but I thought President Xi like out alpha Trump by a lot. Like, I never seen Trump get out alpha. He alphas everybody. He's a very strong guy. But if you watch this Trump handshake, Xi just stood there, shook his hand, long time. Trump looked nervous. He was talking like, I feel like Xi totally one upped him there. That's the only time I've ever seen him like lose a aesthetic, like body language battle. But I thought Xi got him there. But with that being said, it doesn't really matter. It's just everything Trump does is a show. It's this, it's that. I'm doing terrorists. I'm taking him off. The one thing I'm interested about long term with Trump and why I don't really like or trust Trump at all, and I feel like people getting caught in the MAGA, just be very careful. I'm not saying he's going to do this. I don't know. But the whole January 6th thing, in my opinion, was a giant setup, right? I'm not saying I knew necessarily before, but luckily I knew that Trump wasn't to be trusted. That was all I really knew. I was like, I figured January 6th would just be like a big Trump rally, right? Or a big like protest. But once you realize you shouldn't trust Trump, and I know people might not want to hear this again, but I do think it's interesting because this could potentially like save you from getting set up. Like I saw through Trump for potentially the first time during COVID, during CARES Act. He's mad at Massey. He's selling vaccines. He's shilling Moderna. He's shilling Pfizer. I started calling him Grandpa Moderna because he was shilling the Moderna vaccine, which had a joint government patent. At that point, I stopped trusting him. I'm like, I don't trust this guy. After the election, things started getting a little weird, right? Trump's like, yeah, it's going to get crazy come to January 6th. And I was just like, I don't trust this guy. I'm not going to Washington, D.C. I'm not getting on a plane. I'm not a professional activist. I don't want to march in the streets with a bunch of people who trust Trump. I didn't hate Trump. I voted for Trump, but it's like I didn't trust him. And then everybody that went to January 6th either got set up or got close to get set up. Like it was like one of the biggest setups in modern history. And Trump, yeah, I don't know if he was in on it or not. He claims he wasn't. It was such a bad day. I just think either way, I don't know. Part of me thinks he's just a goofball and just doesn't think about anybody but himself. The other part of me thinks he's in on it and he's lofting, setting his people up, handing the baton to Biden, and then, doing his little show for 3 years selling the vaccine. But when it comes to Trump now, the reason I bring all that up is because even though there's a lot more people awake and there's definitely a lot more people aware of like the deception in politics, there's still a lot of people that like really believe in MAGA. Like they're like, yeah, we're blowing up boats. Yeah, we're deporting all the illegals. Hell yeah, all these HHS posts are really great. And this is my thought. I think Trump has the right to deport illegals, but I don't like all of the people he's hiring in their social media. They're inflaming tensions, and I believe they're not really doing that much. Like, are they doing more than Biden? Of course. Would I give them an F or anything? No, I'd give them like a B or a C. But the way they're doing it is a little bit weird, and the way they're talking about it is very extreme. They're posting memes, there's go back home. Like they're doing it so hard, and they're pissing off the left. They're pissing off people that don't want them to do what they're doing with ICE. They've already overstepped. They've already gone after critics of Israel on a college campus. They're already rigging our immigration process for Israel. They're scanning people's social media to make sure you're like a loyal, puppet of Israel before you can get a U.S. citizenship. So this idea that Trump is MAGA, make America great again, he's only deporting illegals, he's doing it ethically, and he's like fixing our country, it's not true. Trump has already used his power that he's creating to do stuff for Israel against American interests. He's rigging our immigration process. He's trying to rig the schools for Israel. And then he's deporting people. But his HHS, his DHS, the ICE, they're tweeting like they're 17-year-olds in the basement trying to piss off the world with an anonymous account, except they're not an anonymous account. They're the government. Some people think it's funny, right? Oh, dude, that's pretty funny. Look at that. He's using Pokemon to throw out illegals. He's making fun of the fat ones, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Someone said traitor to get views. Listen, I love you. I know you're a dumb boomer and you've ruined our civilization and it's your fault and you haven't learned anything from politics. But, check out my I Love Boomer shirt and listen. I know it's hard for boomers to stop talking and listen and think of a new thought for the first time in 40 years, but I think it is time to, consider what I'm saying. With that being said, Trump is doing a lot of things that are somewhat abnormal. And I'm not like, I got to be really clear. Biden did a lot of things that shouldn't have been done. Obama did a lot of bad things to journalists and wars. I don't like Biden. I don't like Obama. But Trump is doing some things that are new. But here's what I think about doing that. If you're going to act that crazy, if you're going to inflame tensions, if you're going to piss people off, if you're going to act like a 17-year-old in his basement trying to piss off everybody on Twitter and say stuff to gotcha, pissing people off purposely, you have to actually like finish the job in the sense of you have to make sure that, you know, the country is fixed, that the country's somewhat on the same page, and that you're going to win elections for the next 10, 20 years. If you do such a crappy job where, you know, your base loves it, but most of the country doesn't, and even though you're deporting a lot of people, there's people coming in on H-1B visas, there's people coming in this way and that way, and demographics are going to shift anyway, and you're going to get beat in an election in 4 or 8 years, then now the left has that power. And now you've basically opened the floodgates of what can they do as a response. So this is not me saying, oh, don't do a good job because the left might do a better job. I don't think Trump's doing a good job. I don't think Trump's America first. I don't think he's really deporting that many people. I think he's inflaming tensions like he's fixing the country, but he's not. It's like the worst of both worlds. It's like, just deport people, do your job, but don't make a big spectacle of it. You know, that's to me the perfect scenario. Don't make a big spectacle. Speak compassionately, speak thoughtfully, and take care of the job. I don't think Trump's doing that. I think he's acting like he is going to do everything, but he's not really doing that much. He's inflaming tensions like he's this great world leader who's Bukeleing his country, but he's like bukakiing his country. I'm sorry if that's a disgusting thing, but I just thought Bukaki was kind of funny. But anyway, you know, jokes aside, I don't know who MAGA thinks Trump is and who he is are two different people. To me, I can already see the writing on the wall where it's like, either Trump is this goofball that just doesn't care about anybody, or, you know, there's always the possibility that he's just the clear Judas Goat fake opposition leader that is in, like, he's setting the stage for what's next, but he's not taking care of business to the point where they're not going to be able to do that. So you know what I'm saying? It's like, is he actually going to be such a good president and so America first that the country's fixed, crime is really down, inflation is down, you know, trade is great, the deficit's down, and then Democrats can't win an election, so it doesn't matter what they think? I don't think so. I think inflation is up. Not Trump's fault now necessarily, but Trump's fault in 2020. Isn't this new politician that could be like, hey, I'm Ron DeSantis, I didn't print that much money. Trump did print that much money, and so did Biden. So, like, MAGA has this delusional, oh, the inflation's just Biden. It's Trump and Biden. Trump printed more money than Obama during COVID. He's a total sellout. He's a total idiot. He's a total socialist. And whether you like him or not, or think he had to or not, the economics doesn't matter why you have to give people AOC commie Trump checks. Like, the math isn't mathing either way. You can't just hand everybody a bunch of COVID checks, sign the CARES Act, print a bunch of money, and be like, but I'm Donald Trump, so since I'm funny, economics doesn't exist anymore because I had to, because of COVID, and I had to lock down, and I had to do this. It doesn't care what your excuse is. And he didn't have to do any of that. He's in on it. But anyway, then Biden gets in and prints a bunch of money. So the point that I'm making is, if I really think about it, do I think Trump's going to do such a good job that he could crush the left completely and then just win elections for the next 15 years with our party? No, because one, I don't even think he's trying to crush the left. I think Trump works for Israel, and let's see him and JD Vance prove otherwise. Two, I don't think his economic moves are good enough, and I think he already did so much damage where, regardless of tweets, like, he's trying to brainwash people and be like, the economy is great, the economy is great. The economy's not great. Nvidia has more money than anybody's ever seen. Nvidia stock is worth more money than any economy in the world besides America and China. Is that a good thing? I mean, it's good that they're in America, right? I'm glad they're not Chinese or something. But at the same time, like, we're in this new AI world where, like, now this one company has more power than any country in the world besides two. That's not translating to me or you. I'm not getting Nvidia money. I don't own Nvidia stock. I didn't buy it 10 years ago. I don't work for the company. So the richer Nvidia gets, and the richer Microsoft gets, and the richer Facebook gets, and the richer everybody else gets, I guess the only one that might help me would be Facebook, because I work off of Facebook. And if they have more money to pay me, then that, but it's not like, you get what I'm saying? I'm not, it is what it is, but it's like, I'm not the average person. 99% of people, me, it's not like Mark Zuckerberg is like, here, I just made $50 billion. Here's $1 billion, or here's like, they don't really do that. But with that being said, the economy's not good. The economy's not good. The country, like, there's something weird going on where, like, nobody wants to work. Nothing's really being built right. Like, everybody's kind of slacking off. Nobody has social skills. Whether gas is down and eggs are down doesn't really matter, because groceries are up, like, rent is up. Everything's more expensive. I don't know that many people that are being paid more. I'm not I mean, I work my own business, so it's a little difficult, but like in the last 4 years, did you get like a $40,000 raise? Probably not. Maybe you did, but if you didn't, like to me, that's how bad the economy is doing. They printed so much money that unless you got like a $40,000 raise, you're not even keeping up with inflation. Like if you got a $10,000 raise, that's not keeping up with inflation over the last 4 or 5 years. So the point that I'm trying to get to is I don't think Trump is going to be able to sweep for like 5-10 years, or Republicans are, because the economy is not going to be able to be fixed with how much money they already printed and how much they're still printing. When the economy's shit, people are going to want something different, the same way they wanted Trump when Biden was in, and now that Trump's in, they're going to want something else. I don't think he's doing enough to actually make sure we win for the next 15 years. So it's the same thing as like January 6th vibes, where people are like, I'm mad at Biden and the rigged election, and I'm mad, so I'm going to follow the great communist vaccine salesman to the Capitol. Okay, just because you're emotionally mad at Joe Biden and an election that Trump helped rig against himself because he passed the CARES Act, that's another thing that people didn't pay attention to. I'm angry because Biden rigged the election. Trump rigged the election against himself. How do you think the mass mail-in ballots and the shutdowns ever got there? He was the president. He greenlighted it all, and he started talking to shit to people who tried to stop it, like Governor Kemp of Georgia and other governors who said no. Trump was talking more shit against them than he was against California. Trump was on television saying, oh, California's great. Me and Gavin Newsom are getting along during COVID. Trump is an idiot. If you just suck up to Trump, he doesn't care what you're doing. He doesn't care if it's capitalism or communism or lockdowns. Trump just wants to hang out with people in ballrooms and be like, oh, Gavin Newsom was mean to me for 3 years, but then when I locked the country down, then when I did Operation Warp Speed, and then when I did the CARES Act and I gave him the power of an authoritarian dictator, now Gavin Newsom likes me, and that's good for you because me and Gavin Newsom are friends. That's who Trump is. That's why, like, I don't understand why people trust him. With all that being said, he rigged the election against himself proudly and then told you that it was just the left and then lured you into a Fed trap. He's not to be trusted. But with all that being said, I just feel like he's doing the same thing now. He's inflaming tensions. He's doing things that do border on the border on communism or authoritarian or fascism. I don't think Trump is a fascist. I think he's a moron. But making the government take over companies, that is either communist or fascist or authority. Like, this is not capitalist. This is not free market. Trump is like an idiot. So I don't care what you call him. To me, Trump is he's like a Zionist socialist. You know, I don't consider him a communist or a fascist, but he's a Zionist socialist. He's a pharmaceutical socialist. He's a Zionist socialist. In some cases, he's a half-assed like national socialist because he'll print Trump checks and give them to everybody, but it's not even like, I don't know. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying he's like that, but I get why, even though I think people are overdoing it, like, I don't think he's a fascist, but I will say giving people money is not capitalist. Giving companies to the government is not capitalist. Giving people Trump checks is not capitalist. Call it what you want. It's not conservative. So he's opening the floodgates for Democrats to do all these things, and he's providing the illusion that he's crushing Democrats, right? He's providing this like MAGA, social media slop. We're blowing up Venezuela. We're crushing the left. We're crushing the illegals, and he's doing it so bombastically, but he's not really doing it. So I fear that it's going to be the same thing. I wouldn't say I fear, but I'm cautious that it's going to be the same thing as the January 6th. You patriots are mad, right? Mad at Biden, mad at the election, mad at the lockdowns. Follow me to the Capitol. It's like the Pied Piper. Oh, you're mad. Follow vaccine salesman to the Capitol today. And then, they do it to like the left and the black community too. They're like, you're pissed off. Come in the streets for George Floyd. That was like the left wing, black version of Trump, where they're like, go throw a fit in the streets and it's okay for a week. Then they tell, white people and conservatives and non-white conservatives that are like, you're mad at Biden and the election, come to the Capitol. It's like, here's a fake color revolution riot for the left. Here's a fake one for the right. They're both setups. They're both going to destroy the country. But, we get a little bit of riot for everybody. Here's yours. Woo! And the people are like, oh, I'm pissed off, so I'm going to go I'm going to go in the streets for George Floyd because I'm mad. So I'm going to burn down this tie shop. How does that fix racism? Burning down a tie shop? But it doesn't matter because people don't think clearly when they're emotional. That was for the left. This one's for the right. To me, that's what Trump's doing again. It's like people like all of the things he's doing because he's fighting the left in their head. But once you realize what's really going on, I feel like it's the same thing as January 6th. He's escalating tensions. He's hyping up all this, all of this controversy, but he's not really even executing at all. Like the numbers are like decent, but why can't you do those and just do interviews and be thoughtful about it? Why, like, whose idea was it to have like all the social media run by bratty like Republican women like trying to piss off liberals? And then like when Charlie gets killed, right? Obviously no excuse for that. Nothing. The left is evil. Like I agree with all that. But I'm just saying like he gets killed and people are like the left is inflaming tensions too much. I agree. The left is inflaming tensions. The left is horrible at a lot of things. And I'm not justifying anything the left does because most of it is evil. But are we going to act like DHS is not inflaming tensions? Are we going to act like the bratty, annoying Republicans running the Trump's like White House account? They're purposely pissing people off. Guys, I've run social media for 10 years. I know the difference between, hey, I'm saying the truth and this might piss people off, to I'm purposely trying to piss people off, but there's really no strategic value of this. Trump's entire administration acts like bratty shit posters. They're all purposely pissing people off. They're all purposely inflaming everybody. They're not even trying to be like, hey, we need to deport 10 million illegals. It's going to be a little tough, but we got to do it. That's not what they're doing. Like, ha, 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 go home, screw you, la, 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 la. There's no strategic value to that. None. It's purposely pissing people off. So if you want to be honest, and it's like, oh, the left inflames tensions. So does Trump. So does the social media. So does DHS. So does ICE. And they're inflaming it at like a 9 or a 10, but they're operating on like a 5 or a 6. If they're going to inflame tensions and the FBI is going to go after the Epstein stuff and, we're going to take care of all the issues, then I don't care about the tensions because we're taking care of business. When the tensions are a 10, but the execution's like a 4, that's not for you. You know what I'm saying? That's like Trump signing the CARES Act, rigging the election against himself, and then playing the victim and luring you to a Fed trap. That's what this seems like to me, because it's not adding up. It's like you're not deporting enough or doing enough to fix the country in 4 years. I'm not saying you have to fix the country in 4 years, but you're talking as if you're going to be there for 20 years. And then they asked Trump, are you going to run again a third time? And for months he was like, yeah, you never know. And Biden's like, yeah, I might run. Thank you for becoming a member. And then recently he finally said, I'm not going to run again. But it's like, why, if you don't like when the left inflames tension, why are you like, yeah, I might run again. I might be a dictator. Maybe I'm not. No, okay, no, I'm just kidding. Why even do that? Like, is it really that funny to you to piss people off all the time? Because to me, it's more fun to like actually do something where you have your FBI saying that there's no evidence that Epstein trafficked to anybody. And then you have Howard Lutnick, who works in Trump's administration. He's basically his right-hand man, going on podcasts saying he thinks that Epstein's the most prolific blackmailer in modern history. The FBI hasn't said he's a blackmailer. The DOJ hasn't said he's a blackmailer. But Howard Lutnick, his former neighbor, who is Trump's Secretary of Commerce, he said that he's blackmailing people. Like, Trump's administration is such a joke that even his own people don't even like feel the need to have to agree with the bullshit that he's doing. He's like, Epstein's a Democrat hoax, blah, blah, blah. They're sweeping it under the rug. And even Howard Lutnick can't shut up. And he's like, yeah, no, he was a blackmailer. Thanks for saying that, Howard, because Trump hasn't said that. Kash Patel hasn't said that. Pam Bondi hasn't said that. So thank you for admitting that you don't believe what they're saying, because no one does. No one believes it. The only people that believe what they're saying is like people that are so pro-Trump that they're like, oh yeah, it's a Democrat hoax. Bro, it's so much deeper than one party or the other party. That's just what he's telling you. Like, Trump is like, it's Democrats, it's drug boats. It's like they have a story for everything. They're just trying to put their feelers out to see if people are stupid enough to believe it. So once again, long-winded kind of rant, but that's my concern with Trump. I'm not afraid of like a joke. It's not like I'm looking at Trump and saying he can't post that. I'm not trying to censor them. I don't understand the logic of operating on a 4 out of 10, but posting inflaming posts at a 10 out of 10. What is that going to do for us? It's literally just going to piss the left off. get them motivated enough to vote. I think Republicans are going to probably lose one of the houses, probably the House, maybe not the Senate, but it's like on one hand, Democrats are so bad that people aren't inspired to vote for them. But on another hand, it's like Trump is so mediocre that, in the future, I think everybody over 50 and 60 will just go and vote Republican, like no matter what, right? And I'm not mad at that. I mean, someone's got to vote for someone. Like, I don't want Democrats to be in power. Like my generation, the younger generation, they think Trump works for Israel, and Trump doesn't really do that much. So like in elections in 10 years or so, or even in 4 or 5 years, am I going to go and vote for Trump? Probably not. I mean, I don't know. I need them to do more. If you want to earn my vote, you got 3 years to do it. Show me you're America first. Stop shit posting. Stop pissing everybody off, but not really doing anything. Stop being a communist. Stop being a socialist. Stop running up the debt. Stop crying about Thomas Massey with your billionaire donors that you admitted on television that you don't think they're loyal to America. You understand what I'm saying? Do that, and then I'll vote for you. I'm not one of these boomers. I love the boomers, but I'm not a boomer that's just going to show up forever, and my generation isn't going to show up forever. So if Trump can't get it together and JD Vance can't get it together, and Democrats hate him enough because he's pissing people off all day with ICE posts, then the next election's not going to be so easy. $100 super chat. Esala said, I'm running for lieutenant governor of Texas against the Zionist. Website in my bio. Feedback would be great. Well, thank you for the super chat, Esala. I'll check it out. And I got a lieutenant governor. That's a big position. So thank you for the super chat. I'll look into you and what you're doing. But appreciate that. That was huge. Someone says, start the mass deportations you promised. I mean, he's doing some, but I think logistically it is challenging, and there's things going on. I think that it's not that Trump's right about, but everybody doesn't realize, I think to some extent, that a lot of people don't want to work. Like I know in certain jobs, we don't need H-1B visas for tech. There's way more enough people that need technology jobs. Like we have more than enough of that, but like actual labor jobs, some people want to do it. Absolutely. But I do think that the government is like understaffed to deport everybody, or maybe they don't want to. I don't know. They're moving at a pace that's too fast for Democrats and too slow for Republicans. I just think that, I don't know, there's so many people here already, and there's so many people integrated in society that Trump is talking like he's going to get rid of everybody. But at the end of the day, he's probably going to get rid of a couple million, maybe more, maybe less. But I guess I don't see the logic of like being so nasty about it. I'm against illegal immigration. I think there's too many people in the country, in the sense of like, I think I'm okay with deportations. But if I were to do it, I would be like, listen, I know there's a lot of good people. I understand, like, I'm going to try to be as moral about it as possible, and not just like, but you guys got to work with me too, because you have to understand the dynamic of what's going on here. I hate the shit posting. I'm just going to say it. I hate the inflaming posts. I hate the It's very cold. It's very rude. It's very obnoxious. It comes across completely soulless. As somebody who supports the deportations to some extent, the posting's unnecessary. I don't understand what it possibly does except for piss people off. Maybe they're trying to piss people off. I don't get that though. Like, why? If you want them to stop pissing everyone off, why are you pissing everyone off? Like that, it just feels like a setup. It just feels like the Republicans, they're all bark, but no bite. So when they're barking, we have to take the brunt of their bark. You know what I'm saying? Like, people think anybody who likes Trump is a fascist. People think anybody who likes Republicans are a fascist. It's not to say that it's right, but it's like everything that Mike Johnson does and Donald Trump does, it reflects on Republicans. They're our leadership, So it's like, if they're inflaming everything but not doing that much, then they're kind of just screwing us over, the same way as if they pass the CARES Act and then invite everybody to the Capitol. It's the same kind of symbolism of like, they're setting you up. They're setting you up for failure. They're setting you up for issues, but they're not getting rid of the problem. Like, even with the Charlie thing, like, Charlie was one of the most loyal, biggest Republicans in the world. He gets killed. Like, are you impressed with the investigation? I don't know. I saw recently in the news, I mean, we'll see how true this is, but that Joe Kent and Tulsi Gabbard were like looking into something, and Cash got mad. That's what they said. Someone said, anomaly revealing his true Democrat personality, all winning is annoying to him. What I'm saying is it's not winning, though. Here's what I want to say, because to me, I'm more conservative and right wing than Trump is. You might not think so because I don't act like an idiot all the time. Trump acts like he's the furthest right person in the world, but he governs like a New York socialist. So winning the CARES Act was not winning. Printing money is not winning. Spiraling into debt is not winning. Operation Warp Speed was not winning. Executive orders for Israel is not winning. Deporting people on campus for Israel is not winning. Rigging our immigration system for Israel is not winning. Shit posting while doing nothing is not winning. You know, like this is like winning to you. You're so low IQ and so simple that winning to you is just lying to you. That's why the elites think people like you are literally cattle. They look at you like animals because they the same way you throw like fodder to like a cow, they just throw you like communism and you think it's like winning. Trump is too far left for me. He's too big government for me. He's starting new wars while telling you he's stopping wars. He's accepting hundreds of millions of dollars from people that he thinks works for foreign countries to get him to do things for foreign countries. None of this is America first. None of this is capitalism. None of this is conservative. None of this is winning whatsoever. Like Trump to me is like a liberal socialist feminist, but to you, he's like the savior of humanity. So all it takes is like a Fox News segment and you think they're winning. It's like, here's Jesse Waters to tell you that we're winning. Hey, boomers. Hey, cattle. Here's some fodder feed for your face. Here's some libtards. We're changing the definition of man and woman. There's only 2 boxes now on the Scantron. Oh, Anomaly's a liberal if he doesn't like this. It's like, meanwhile, what else is going on? You know, so if there was winning going on, it wouldn't bother me. The actual wins Trump is doing doesn't require putting a 19-year-old girl on the DHS's social media to post like they're trying to piss everybody off. Like there's no strategic value to that. It's like it's all bark, no bite. You know, that's what it seems like to me. And all the bite that they have isn't even for our country. It's like Trump is deporting legal immigrants that are on college campuses for writing op-eds to Israel about Israel. We live in the United States of Israel. Trump polices speech for Israel. Trump deports people for Israel. Trump is rigging the immigration system to make sure that people are loyal to Israel before they come to America. This isn't even a country. We're like a conquered colony at this point. Why would a incoming immigrant need to worship Israel? Ron Paul doesn't do that. I like Ron Paul. Tucker Carlson doesn't do that. Glenn Greenwald doesn't do that, but he doesn't even live here anymore. You know, Candace Owens doesn't do that. Thomas Massey doesn't do that. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey are my 2 favorite politicians right now, and they wouldn't be able to become U.S. citizens because Donald Trump's rigging the immigration process for Israel. How is that America? How is that winning to you? If Thomas Massey were a European citizen trying to immigrate to America and had all the qualifications, they'd look at his social media and flag him for anti-Semitism, and he wouldn't be allowed to come in the country. Read their rules on incoming immigrants for visas. They are scanning their social media for anti-Semitism. Then read the government definition of anti-Semitism because the government has a specific definition. And if you think America is a singular free republic where we have our own definition of anti-Semitism, you would be wrong because our definition of anti-Semitism is the same one as Argentina. It's the same one as Germany. It's the same one as Canada. It's the same one as France. It's the same one as the UK. An international definition that was created in Europe 15 years ago or 20 years ago is now the definition that our government uses to decide what is or what isn't hate speech for Israel, one race and one religion. You think that's winning? That's winning to you? How is that winning to you? On what planet is that winning? I hate to be rude, and I'm wearing this shirt, so I really have to be careful because we do love the boomers. Let's give a round of applause for boomers, everybody's favorite. Okay, we love them. The beautiful thing about the boomers, right? Every time period has a pro and a con. The young kids, they're attached to the phone. They're all depressed. They all have anxiety. Not all of them, but you get what I'm saying. Let's just generalize against everybody right now. There's pros and cons to every time frame. The boomers, they have real skills, right? A lot of them like know how to do labor and like fix a light and stuff. And the younger generations don't know how to do anything, right? So we love the boomers. We're gonna we're going to miss the boomers, and God help America with the new generations when they take over, right? But the one thing, I think, the one criticism that everyone else has of boomers, that most of the younger generations think about boomers, is like the most selfish generation. Grew up in like the greatest America, completely squandered it, just went to a bunch of concerts, didn't think about anything, and then just threw it all away for the future generations. And now we have the internet, we have technology. Not all boomers, because we love boomers and there's a lot of boomers waking up, but it's like you have the technology to come to the same conclusions that I'm coming to that are accurate and correct, but yet you just sit there and you just want to be selfish the whole time. You don't like winning. You don't like Trump. You like Trump because it's like cattle feed to an animal. It's not because it's good for the country. It's just easy. It's just simple. Just like spending all your inheritance before you give it to your kids. That's easy. Not thinking about the world, not thinking about demographic shift, not thinking about how they're lying about the wars, not thinking about the debt, not thinking about Social Security that you're going to get that no one else is going to get because it's a Ponzi scheme. Like your generation had all these great things, and now our generation is stuck with like nothing and debt and mixed demographics where everybody hates you and crime rising. And it's like, and the best you guys could do, not all of you, but some, the best you can do is just suck off Trump for the rest of your life and get mad at millennials who are 2 times as smart as you, who are seeing through the deception. It's like, at what point will you stop talking and stop being obnoxious like Trump on social media and listen and learn a new fact? Teach a dog a new trick. You understand what I'm saying? Like, now is the time. I'm a very good orator. I speak very clearly. I'm very careful with what I'm saying. It's all very easy to follow. It's all really easy to look up. It's not hard to comprehend. But if you're talking to somebody that hasn't comprehended a new thought in 30 years because they're so selfish, then nothing I'm saying is making sense. My problem with Trump is not that he's winning so much. My problem is that he's selling us out to a foreign nation. He's printing too much money. All these things that you think he's doing, it's because you buy into like the Trump the same way you bought into George Bush. George Bush, I knew at the age of 12, was a liar. Every boomer and everybody my age, to be honest, every millennial, everyone was mad at me. How could you speak about you fell for George Bush for 8 years straight? And then you hated Obama for 8 years and said you'd never fall for George Bush again. And now they're repackaging George Bush and Trump, and you buy it because they know how to trick you, because it's like tricking an animal. It's like literally that simple. It's like, how do you make a dog twirl? How do you make a cat jump? How do you make a boomer believe a politician? It's like the same thing. Throw a bone to a dog, throw a piece of yarn to a cat, and give Republicans some guy who reads the same neocon script as 30 years. But if they start getting suspicious, give them someone else that's slightly more entertaining and believable. I'm not trying to be rude, but it's like, wake up, And if not, at least just be quiet. Like, I don't care if people agree with me, but it's like, boomer, like, not only are they wrong about everything, but they feel the need to like jump in the comment section on Instagram. Some lady who's just retarded. It's like some guy said something really honest and really thoughtful. It had nothing. It wasn't me, but it was on my post. And she's like, you really ought to be smarter than that. And it's like the hubris of somebody who's retarded, who's completely wrong about what they're saying, telling someone way smarter than them that they need to be smarter. That's like the encompassment of everything people hate about boomers. It's not to say it's everybody's fault, but it's like, you won't see me in a comment section, even though I consider myself smart. I've studied this stuff. I do it full time. You're not going to see me in a comment section saying, well, you ought to be smarter than this. I don't talk to people like that. You know what I'm saying? There's times where I think people are being dumb, but you're not going to see me in the comments in the last 2 years. There's no comment of me telling someone they need to be smarter. It's just like an annoying, douchey thing to do. Yet the dumbest person in my comment section is telling the smartest person in my comment section, you really ought to be smarter. You ought to be like you're the dumbest person in the comment section, yet you're telling everybody they need to be smarter. That's annoying. Like that's what how could that not annoy people? Like that's like so annoying, and they don't get it because they don't listen. They don't listen. They don't learn. They can't attain new facts. They just talk. They just talk and they just bother people that are trying to help them. It's fascinating. Someone's talking about the Snap stuff. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but 40 million people are on Snap. That's not a good sign. And it's one of those things too, where if you work and pay taxes, like where's this all going? I don't mind paying if it's helping people, but 40 million people are on SNAP. There's not even 400 million people in the country. That's over 10% of people. It's like 1/8 of the population is on SNAP and food stamps. That's not good. And there's no way that everybody needs that. But it's like a self-fulfilling cycle where if you give somebody something, then they do need that because they don't, they get accustomed to it. Where I don't know. There's a lot of things going on, but I don't think there's a lot of politicians who have the willpower or ambition to really fix them, because fixing any sort of issue, has a lot of backlash to it. And I understand that some people think that Trump is that guy, because he is doing some unique stuff in some ways, but I just I just want people to pay a little bit more attention and be a little bit more curious, because they've done a number on us our whole life. And I'm sorry if it came off a little bit rude or whatever, but it's like, wake up already. If I could figure this stuff out when I'm 13 and you were mad at me at 15 and 20 and 25 and 30, and now I'm 36, and I'm still getting yelled at by the older generation because they just love Trump and believe Trump and think everything he's doing is winning. I hope he is, but if he falls short of what he's trying to do, but he inflames tensions and does new normals that never have been done before, he's basically teeing you off to just get hammered down by the next administration, which is what I tend to believe that he's doing. And I'll say this too, like, before I leave, Trump is doing a lot of weirdo stuff, and this is the dangerous part about how bad the left has become. The left has hammered him so much on things they shouldn't have that nobody listens to criticism of Trump anymore, and Trump is suing them and winning. So it's one of those things where it's like the left messed up way too much, like being the boy who cried wolf. The left was the boy who cried wolf for 8 years. Nobody cares anymore. Now Trump can do whatever he wants. If you really look at what Trump's doing, he made hundreds of millions, potentially billions of dollars on some crypto scheme. Trump put out a shit coin. A bunch of people lost money, and Trump made like hundreds of millions of dollars. Guys, I'm not Donald Trump, so my coin will never do as well as Trump. Trump's coin's going to do the best. But I was approached by somebody to do a crypto coin. They were like, Anomaly, I think you have a big enough audience. It's this way to like make a lot of money. That's out of everything Trump's done in this world in the last couple of years, he's made more money on crypto. It's not good. Like, that's not good for the economy. That's not good for the country. If Trump gained 800 million, probably someone lost 800 million. And it was probably normal people who like Donald Trump or were investing in his coin. So it's like, there's something fundamentally wrong with this country. Nvidia's crushing every other country. Trump's making all his money from crypto scams. It's like, it's not good. And if I'm willing to turn down a crypto scheme to make a bunch of money, even though I don't have that much money, Trump has billions of dollars, yet he still needs more money by scamming a bunch of people with crypto. Like, he's a sicko. You know what I'm saying? But nobody even pays attention to it, because it's like the left lies about him, the right defends him. He's doing this. He's shaking hands with China. Go look up and ask a search engine how much money Trump made from crypto. It's his biggest source of income over the last year, I believe. And with that being said, it's just like, Thomas Massey brought up something, that one of the biggest meat sellers was a donor to Trump's inauguration. I think Joe Biden took I got to look it up because I posted it, but Joe Biden took like $80 million during his inauguration. That's when a bunch of these people like give you money and then end up, let me see. I can't find it, but maybe I could look a little harder. Biden took like $80 million from corporations during his inauguration, and that's when they bribe you, right? You're the president. The election's over. All the corporations flood you and then pay for stuff. Trump took hundreds of millions of dollars from corporations. Like, Trump is the biggest sellout. Yes, Biden sucks, but like, Trump doesn't take other people's money. Biden took 80 or 70 million. Trump took like hundreds of millions. For his ballroom, he's taking hundreds or tens of millions of dollars as well. And it's big corporations like Meta, Microsoft, and now it's all a business deal with Donald Trump. So everybody thinks, he's not the left. He's so above everything else. There's arguments to be made that Trump is the most interesting president ever, which he is. And he's, I like a lot of things about Trump, but there's a valid argument to be made with journalism and with like honest reporting that Trump is like the biggest sellout ever. Like, yes, he seems like he's not. And that's the best part about him is like, yeah, he seems like he's not. He seems like he has a backbone. But if you look at the actual numbers, he's so far from the guy that wasn't taking other people's money. Like, he's taking more money than any president from the inauguration. He's building a ballroom with a bunch of donors and corporations who are paying in order to get something out of it. They're not just paying out of their free will. You give Trump money, he likes you. You say nice things about him, he likes you. You don't like him, he doesn't like you. He's a very simple guy. So it's like the illusion of left versus right, Trump versus the left, has created a monster with Trump. And I'm just saying this because I want to just, put my thoughts on record like I always do, but I haven't really talked about it that much. I'm not saying Biden is good. Biden sucks. Kamala sucks. But them being the boy who cried wolf and them being so bad and them destroying their party has created a monster in Trump where he's making money off crypto. He's selling out to donors. He's building ballrooms with their money. He's totally compromised on so many different topics, or at least doing deals with them, just like transactions with other politicians. And then he's giving the illusion to MAGA that he's crushing the left and the deep state and all these illegals and that, we're going to win. Where to me, I feel like if he doesn't fully win or he doesn't actually get everything he says he's going to get done, then he's just going to create a climate where Democrats are ready to just hammer down Republicans in a way that they can now have an easier time justifying, because Trump has done things that are slightly different and kind of flirted the lines of what people have done before. He's not the first one. Obama did horrific things that were never done before when it came to journalists and wars. Trump did horrific things in his first term when it came to money printing and COVID. Biden continued it and did horrific things when it came to vaccine mandates. Like, it's not like Trump's the first person to do something different than another president, but you do have to think in that sort of lens, is like every box that he's opening and doing that seems cool to you, if he doesn't go the distance and actually do something about it, then the left is now going to have the justification to do it back. And, I guess that's where I'm at. I'm going to leave it on this note. If you believe that Trump is the leader that's on your side, he has your back, and he's to be trusted, then you look at all this stuff and you say, I don't care what he does. I don't care what they'll do. I trust Trump. I don't like Anomaly. I don't trust Anomaly. I trust Trump more than Anomaly. I'm going to go that route. And, who cares what he does? And either way, like, caring only matters so much because Trump's going to do what he's going to do anyway. But if you're like me and you don't trust Trump, maybe you like him more than Biden, maybe you think he's a better president, maybe you want to roll the dice with him in an election, but you don't trust him and you don't think he definitely has your interests intact, then you ask these questions as well, where it's like, is this some hero's tale where he's going to take care of business and really crush it for our country and set new standards? Or is he just setting us up again to be a goofy kind of like agent of chaos where he gets some stuff done, he doesn't get some stuff done? Almost everything he got done in his first term, he ended up like undoing with COVID. So it's like he does all these things, and then during COVID, everything gets ruined. So it doesn't even matter what he did, because it's like, oh, I slipped at the 1 yard line and fumbled the ball. Oh, it's just a mistake. Did that randomly happen because Trump was crushing, or is he just part of the show? So it's like, I look at it through that lens too. It's like any good thing that he might possibly be doing right now, although to be honest, I can't count that many, although there are a few. There's always the possibility that whatever the script is for 2027 or right before the election, that Trump slips on a banana peel again in Mario Kart and goes from first to eighth. Like, I don't think that's necessarily the deep state throwing a wrench at Trump and he just slips on a banana peel. I think Trump is part of the production, and that's kind of what he's supposed to do at the end to make it seem like he's, when all the bad things start happening during COVID, it's like, it's not me, even though it is kind of me, but it's not me, but I didn't do that part of it, but I did that part of it. He's kind of like that guy. So just be on the lookout for it. People that see things the way I do, it's like, we'll see if he takes care of biz or he's going to slip on a banana peel again and set his supporters up at the Capitol. Cause I'm definitely looking for that moment. And the big moment to me, like I said earlier, is Trump and JD Vance are claiming that Israel can't have the West Bank. Israel's killing people like this week. I think they killed like 60 people or something, or dozens of people. I don't, I'm sure they'll say that's blood libel, but the news reported it. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. If JD Vance and Trump successfully tell Israel no, and actually Israel listens somehow, then JD Vance and Trump are, individual people who, compromise on some topics, but on some topics they don't. If they completely cave on that topic, to me, that's the Super Bowl of this administration. Then nothing he says matters. It's all a show, and his word means nothing, because if he can't stand up to them, or he doesn't have the power or the leverage, then I think everybody suspecting that is right. So I think whether he knows it or not, or whether they're aware of it or not, or whether they could do anything about it or not, this is the moment that everybody's kind of looking at. Like, is he the real deal, or is he just another character? And I do think that if you look at the direction that things are going with Tucker, with Fuentes, with Candace, with, Ben Shapiro's popularity, with the questions being asked at Turning Point, with even Charlie in his last couple of months, he was noticing that pattern and trying to figure out how to rein it in. This is a bigger deal than they'll realize. Like, the left doesn't care in politics. Like, Democrats are mostly sold out. So the Democratic elites don't match the young kids, and the Republicans don't match their base either. So in politics, Trump's entire administration is like Zionist first, or most of them. But in the base, there's a massive rapid change going on that either they are aware of, or they aren't aware of, or they think it's just bots. But I think the future of the Republican movement, and just who Trump is and who JD Vance really is, that West Bank difference between Israel and America is huge, definitely for me. And as far as what he becomes, only time will tell. But I definitely am not. I'm not on board as far as like his whole shtick of like, I'm just gonna be the like. And I know some people in DC too, as far as like people who live there and work there. I'm not gonna say I know exactly who's running like the White House like Twitter account, because I don't. But I know that crowd. I know the younger Republican crowd. And that's kind of like the theme of all their parties too. It's like, we're the mean kids, we're cruel kid. Like, they're the younger Republicans are kind of embracing that, because it gives them an edge, where like, even though a lot of them are a bunch of nerds and stuff, they're like, we're the cruel kids in DC, we're the mean guys, we're the mean ice, we're the mean. They're going with this like nah, and then they're like, but don't inflame tension. So it's like, you guys are doing the same thing. Yeah, the left is crazier than you, but what's the point of doing all that stuff and acting like a dick and being rude and being mean, but not following through and actually doing anything? The doing matters, not the talking. Either deport 10 million people or don't. Talking about it doesn't matter. Tweeting about it doesn't matter. There's no advantage to tweeting about it unless you're just trying to get people to self-deport. Then there's a way to do that, I think, without being this crazy with it. But you understand what I'm saying? I guess it's just like, they're almost like, people in not Hollywood, but it might as well be Hollywood. What's it called? DC. I'm not trying to be a dick, but they're so like sociopathic, where they just think they're going to be in power forever. They don't care about anyone. They love pissing people off. It's very like high school bully vibes. Like, I'm the guy. And then when they're out of power, Democrats go after them and they're like, oh, please. And it's like, it's just like this story that just never ends. So I personally I don't know. They're talking and tweeting and acting like they can just be bitchy forever, and it's not going to backfire against them. I do think the way you treat others does end up like, you should treat people the way you want to be treated. And if the left treats the right like shit and the right treats the left like shit, and then they both complain about it, you're both children. You both treat each other exactly the same way, except the left's just a little weirder and crazier. But and I'm not just saying this, I don't like most people on Fox News. I don't like most people in Republican media. It's not because I don't like Republican values. I just don't like them. They're bitchy. They're annoying. They're snotty. They're bratty. They're not that smart. They're not that interesting. They're not that funny. They're not that likable. It's all bark. It's all donor money. It's all, foreign policy that's not in our interest. It's all fake. It's all fake. And it's not even fake in a thoughtful way. It's fake in a very combative way. They're very combative. In my opinion, this is what they want. They don't want somebody that's chill, that has good values, that can push the values. They want some bitchy, snotty, arrogant person who will push Ted Cruz foreign policy, but make it look sexy because there's some, chick who's good looking. That's what they want. They're not oblivious to how much tension they're creating. The entire left versus right paradigm, you need tension in order to get it to work. If the left and the right aren't super pissed at each other all the time, then then there's nothing to fight over, and everybody starts figuring stuff out a little more. Like, if you watch The View and you follow someone right wing that's like, look how stupid The View is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the View is so stupid. Look how stupid these ladies are. They're literally harpies. They just squawk and they're annoying. I get why people are right wing. I'm right wing. I'm just saying, it's like, yeah, they suck. But then if you follow like a left wing account and they're just shitting on the right all the time, you're like, oh my gosh, these people are super annoying too. You know, I don't watch the news, so I'll just see clips on Twitter and you're like, no, that person is super bratty, super obnoxious. And it's always these people that are like, not that impressive, not that smart, not that honest, but they're so nasty about it. I'm a Republican. And I'm thinking to myself, I've been in the game for a decade. You're only there because you're not smart and you haven't figured out the truth. That's why you're able to be a bitch. If you were actually like bitchy, but like more like Candace Owens type, then they'd kick you off the news. You know what I'm saying? Like Candace is like, she can be like, ha ha ha, but she's way more honest. That's why they don't let her there. You know, so it's like that's what makes the people on the news so annoying is like, you're so arrogant, but you're not that smart. Yeah, you're smarter than a libtard, but they put you and an annoying libtard on the television to yell at each other because that creates this controversy that people see the worst in the other side. And then they're like, all right, I don't want to be like that person. So that's why I talk about that stuff so much. I'm not trying to pick on people and I'm not trying to be rude, but I really do believe that the inflaming and the extremity of like the shit posting of the Republican Party, I don't want a 10 out of 10 shit posting. I want a 10 out of 10 job being done on the topics. If you were 10 out of 10 First Amendment, 10 out of 10 Second Amendment, 10 out of 10 deficit economy, 10 out of 10 foreign policy, then if you 10 out of 10 shit post, it's like, yeah, whatever. It's still unnecessary, but whatever. But it's not that. It's like 10 out of 10 shit posting, 10 out of 10 arrogance, 1 out of 10 on the Epstein, 2 out of 10 on the economy, 6 out of 10 on immigration, maybe, but maybe a 4 because they're not even just going after illegals. They're going after people who criticize Israel. Like, it's like the bark's not matching the bite. And my philosophy, I'm not a politician, and perhaps you need to be a little crazier than me in order to like make it in that space. But my thought is like, I don't want to, like, if I have to piss people off, I'll piss people off. I don't care. I'm not going to like change who I am to like please somebody else. And I think I do piss a lot of people off, even in like my personal life, because I could be very blunt. With that being said, I'm not trying to, and I always try to have like a moral reason for what I'm doing. Like, I'm not just going to talk to someone and be like, you freaking suck. You're dumb, you're fat, you're lazy, you can't make it. I'm more like you might hate what I'm saying, but you're super talented, you're super creative, you just got to work a little harder. Like it still might piss somebody off, but I'm not shitting on them completely. I'm more like trying to build them up and be like, listen, I want the best for you because you're a great person. I'd personally rather see that with immigration, where it's like, I'm fine with deporting illegals and I'm fine with making America great again. But like, why do you have to be so bitchy about it? I just don't see the advantage to it. That's just not who I am. I don't dislike people. I just think that we need to have some really honest conversations about America. We need to have some really honest conversations about race. We need to have some really honest conversations about religion. And it's going to piss people off anyway. So why make it worse? Like, why inflame the tension before you even get a chance to? I could say everything as nice as possible, and people still might not like it. But I guarantee you more people will understand what I'm saying if I'm nice about it. If I was just up here like Tommy Lauren, just throwing arrows at everybody, I don't think I would have been as successful. Tommy Lauren is perfect for Republicans that are stuck in their ways. But what I'm realizing too, and I'm learning from people like, I talk to people outside of politics, and a lot of younger people, even conservatives, they're at odds with their conservative parents. Some of them are liberal, some of them are moderate, some of them are conservative. But this is one thing, and I'm not going to say this is the way with my parents because they're cool. I like my parents and they're not this way. So it's not like I love my parents and they don't act this way. But I'm just saying, I like talking to other people. Their parents watch Fox News like every day. And then their parents are just like annoying. And then they don't like their parents that much because their parents are like, you're a libtard, blah, blah. Like they're just spouting these like aggressive Zionist talking points from like Fox News and just being like, that's all they're getting, this like edgy content of people pissed off all the time and yelling at libtards. So then they start acting exactly what you become, what you watch. So it's like, even though it's Republican, and I'm not blaming Tommy Lauren, but that was always her angle. It's like she pisses off the left, the right likes her, and she creates controversy, so it gets a lot of clicks. Does it convert a lot of people to the right? I don't know. I don't have the stats. Maybe some. Some people need that, but to me, it doesn't. I don't think it works that well. Like, I think, you know, to her credit, I think Candace Owens has converted more people to the right wing because she's not just yelling conservative talking points. She's doing other things. She's diving into different topics intelligently. Yes, Candace Owens can be a firebrand just like Tommy Lauren, but it's night and day between like the intellect behind the content. Candace is way more like talks about 50 different topics in interesting ways, and Tommy Lauren's just yelling Republican talking points. Like, I mean, she's gotten a little better. I saw her agree with Thomas Massey, which is cool. So I'm not trying, like, I think modern Tommy Lauren is like a wiser version of herself. But like, I'm talking like classic Tommy Lauren when she was like the biggest show in town. I almost felt like that's designed to ramp up the right, but it's not converting the left. It piss off the left, but it's not making them want to become the right. And like I said, I don't have the recipe for everything, but I bet if there were statistics, I would have a lot of people that were left leaning that became right leaning, or left leaning that want to listen to what I have to say, or disagree with me but don't think I'm a piece of shit sort of vibe. You know, like, if you listen to what I say about certain topics, it's not that I don't have like unpopular views as much as some of the most hated people. It's just I'm not an asshole about it, because I'm actually not, like, it's not an act that I'm putting on. It's not like I sit there and I think to myself, how do I say this crazy view moderately to get people on my side? It's not a game to me. I'm just not a piece of shit person. I don't hate people. I don't, like, this is who I am. So it's like, I'm saying it in the most thoughtful way, because that's how I would talk to somebody off camera as well. If I want to explain demographics and immigration and why I think there's too much going on in America, I'm not just going to yell at somebody and talk down to other races. And you know what I'm saying? How's that going to work? How is that? And especially, I think that's the thing that, I don't want to generalize, but conservatives and white people and Christians are missing, not to single them out, but like, white demographic is shifting. Christianity's on the rise, but like Christians have lost a lot of systemic power. And then, conservatives who, it's been a struggle back and forth. But I think that's the one thing that they're missing is like too many people, they're comfortable they're comfortable like pissing people off. But this is what annoys me about the Trump, but they're not doing that much. So it's like, I don't understand this. Like, say you're just going to be edgy and piss everybody off, but the demographics are going to shift out of your favor. How is that helping you at all? Like, how is getting pissed about something, but not actually fixing it, or like having a solution to like put it in the other direction? Like, I don't understand how that's helping you at all. It's like, it's only doing nothing. It's like, it's making people hate you. Nobody's listening to it except for people on your page that are pissed off, but then you're also not fixing the issue. So it's like, in order to get people on your side, like, don't you want to explain it? Because some people don't understand it too. And I guess this is another thing as well. Not everybody is like a good speaker. Some people are good writers. Some people are good at other stuff. They're good musicians. They're type A, type B. Everybody has different blessings in this world. Not everybody's a basketball player. Not everybody's an athlete. Not everybody has a beautiful voice. I feel that way with speaking. So I feel like, I remember my dad told me that my grandpa, his name was Lippy in the military or whatever. Or I guess he served in World War II or something, but I don't know that he was ever like deployed to battle, but I think he did fly to a different country. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But my dad was like, your grandfather's name was Lippy because he could talk a lot. So I do feel like I do have like the gift of gab, and I am made to talk to some extent. So I think some people don't mean to come across wrong. They just do because they don't know how to say it. Like everybody has that one friend who it's like, they're awesome, but if you bring them in a crowd, they might say the wrong thing to somebody, but they don't mean it. It's understandable. That's, I think that's why I don't like look down on anybody. It's not like, oh, you got to do this. Not everybody could do that, but I just don't want to turn on Fox News and see a bunch of like bitchy, bratty, snotty people. It's like, they love these snots. They love these snots that are just being snotty all the time. And I don't think it's that they don't have the gift of gab. I just think they're annoying, snotty people. Like one of my buddies, Chad Jackson, he was a plumber and now he makes documentaries. Like he's better. He's a thoughtful person and he's more interesting to listen to. And I feel like part of the reason is like I don't know. It's not that he wasn't made to do this, because I think he was, but people like normal people don't act that way. Some do. Some normal people are obnoxious, but it's like, everybody's trying to be an influencer, and then a guy who's a plumber comes along, and he's easier to listen to because he isn't like acting like a snot about it. It's like there's something to be said about not being bitchy. I don't know. It's like, yeah, you might have really controversial things to say and people might not like it, but do you have like basic social skills where you understand how to be thoughtful about something or listen to something you disagree with? And, I've told this story one time a while ago, but I was, Newsmax, they claim they wanted to hire me. It never happened, but this was, I don't remember, during the pandemic. They booked me to some sort of like a trial run that they were going to do like a Fox 5 or Fox 4 show with a bunch of like millennials or whatever. And we were going to be the younger, like Fox 4, but on Newsmax. It was a pilot, right? So they booked me, and you guys know, imagine Anomaly on like a Fox 4. Come on. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm a superstar. I could have done it. I could have been a really reasonable voice, and I feel like I'm very likable, or maybe not. Maybe I get on TV and everyone hates me. Who knows? But in my own head, I'm a superstar. But anyway, I'm on this like Zoom call pilot trial run for this show. And I don't remember the exact thing, but it was something about homeless veterans or something. And they went down the line, and everybody said the same thing. They were being like bitchy, bratty Republicans. And it was like the basic, news talking point for the thing. So it gets to me, right? And they're like, all right, what do you think? And I was like, I can't remember the topic, so I can't give you the exact thing. It's a little blurry. But whatever I said was completely different to what they said. I was like, guys, I get what you're saying, but remember this. Remember the fact that a lot of these veterans, like, they fought, wars. This happened, like, we were lied to about a lot. And like, whatever I said, it was like literally like, I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree, but I feel like this is like the better take. And I said that. And then they went back down the line, and everybody agreed with me. They were all like, no, that's a really good point. No, I totally agree. Yeah. Like it was almost like I crushed it. And it wasn't a competition, but like they didn't have a mind of their own. It's like, and I'm like, yeah, think about this. Oh, that's a better, that makes way more sense than what I said. No, yeah. It's like they don't let these things on television because everybody would figure it out. It's so obvious, but they like people that just say the same thing. And I think you get jobs by just saying things like, these people haven't had to think differently because they're getting paid to like go on Fox News. Oh, to the left. Hello, my name is Leo Terrell. I'm fighting anti-Semitism. Here's my hats. I'm writing a book on anti-Semitism, and Trump put me in charge. The left is anti-Semitic, and the right is anti-Semitic, and the left and the right and the right and the left and the left, the left. Buy my book. Thank you, Leo. That was really good. And by the way, my hats are on dreamrare.com, so you don't get made in America hats like this anywhere else. I mean, I guess you can, but not like this. Let's just be honest. Custom made, fire. And then you're like, well, yeah, obviously the left sucks, and obviously they're wrong about that. However, the right is also passing speech laws. That was my whole, I remember like in 2019, I know I've told this story before, but not in this way. Because I would be like, yes, the left is against free speech and they're hypocrites, but also isn't like Prager and Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro kind of a hypocrite too? Because they all say they're pro-free speech, but then none of them seem to be covering this topic of these anti-Semitism hate speech laws, and Trump's passing them and DeSantis is passing them. So like, why isn't Republican media, if they really believe in the First Amendment and no speech laws and stuff, like why aren't they covering this? And I remember, I'm not going to say who, but I was on somebody's show and he never aired the show because his sponsors were like Prager's new documentary, Safe Space. And it's like, I'm ruining the show and the sponsorship because they're like, go watch PragerU Safe Space. But I'm saying this entire documentary is hypocrisy because, they want a safe space for one topic that they seem to like more than American topics. and they're completely unconcerned with the fact that they're passing speech rules in. So it's like, it's not a and I'm not saying this like, oh, maybe there's another reason, but it's not a coincidence they don't show this on 95%. Like, everyone would agree with me. Put me on Fox News. Who's going to disagree with me? The audience is going to be like, no, Anomaly's right, that we believe in the First Amendment no matter where it is. That's why they don't allow people to even know this is happening. That's why I've kind of pushed so hard. And that's why it's a little frustrating for me, because people think I'm just being hateful or jealous. I don't need anything. I just want the people watching these shows to know, like, they like bitchy, bratty, annoying, very combative people who keep it really simple. Candace is very combative. Candace has a lot of fire in her. How come she doesn't get invited to many places anymore? Because she broke the third rail of politics. She went way too hard on Israel. She questioned parts of the war that got her banned from Australia. And now she's questioning Trump's entire administration's investigation. Candace is a very fiery person. How come they don't want her on Fox News because they want some random like 20-year-old Zionist chick that nobody's ever heard of just talk about Israel the whole time. Every time I see somebody watching like Fox or Newsmax, they're talking about Israel like the whole time, and anti-Semitism in Israel. It's like, I know they talk about other stuff, but it's like, here's Emily Austin, here's this person, here's Deborah Leah, here's, and they're like, the anti-Semitism. It's like, all right, I get it. Like, there's got to be a segment on that, but I don't know. I don't watch them enough, but do they ever have on someone like Candace who disagrees with them? Piers Morgan does it, and I don't even trust him, but he has all these debates. People always say like, oh, I want to see you on Piers Morgan. That ship has sailed. He blocked me 3 years ago because I called him a piece of garbage because he was shilling. He was like talking really crazy about the unvaccinated, right? Should I have probably just said nothing? Probably. But, I was like, Piers Morgan, you're a piece of shit, or something like that. Cause he was going like Jimmy Kimmel on unvaccinated people. And I'm like, yo, F you, Piers Morgan, you're a scumbag. So he blocked me like 3 years ago. So I'll never get on that show. People are like, you should be on this show. I was like, did I burn that bridge? Did that bridge burn me? I'm not really sure. Sometimes it's worth some self-reflection because, it does seem like a lot of bridges have been burned, but I don't know. Also, like, did I have to suck up to Piers Morgan during COVID in order to get on a show? I got to pretend to like the guy. Too late. I don't know. I was, a lot of people that go on a show, they weren't really talking about COVID that much, but I forget what he said, but he said something so evil and so grimy about COVID where I was just like, bro, you are the biggest liar. You are the biggest fraud. And he blocked me. So I'm sure he remembers that and just doesn't want me on the show. As for other people, I don't know. They could have me on if they want, but I guess at this point in my life, it doesn't really matter to me that much. I wanted to be on shows way more like 2 years ago. Now I'm more patient. It's like, if they want it, that's fine. If they don't, it's okay. Money sells moral compasses. Someone said Piers is opportunistic. 100%. Piers Morgan is not having everybody on his show because he really cares. I think he just knows how to like he's like, let's get Cenk Uygur and Stephen Miller's wife, and they'll yell at each other and call each other anti-Semitic or whatever. That'll get a lot of views, Let's like Candace and a rabbi debate. Like, I feel like Piers Morgan is a huge opportunist. I don't, I think he was early on realizing that the internet was surpassing his little puppet ways. And then he became like a host of real conversations. So, I think it's a good thing that he's doing that. Like, I don't think it's bad for the world or anything, but I don't know if he's doing it for the right reasons. Even Tucker, and I'm not saying he's wrong for this. I like Tucker a lot, but he said he was having Nick on because he realizes that Nick isn't going anywhere. And if he doesn't have Nick on now, like, Nick isn't going, like, he'll just keep getting bigger. So like Tucker eventually has to talk to him. Like, that was what Tucker said, which is very honest. I love Tucker, but I don't think he was like, I like Nick, I want to have Nick on because they didn't like it. I think he was like, I have no choice. I think I have to have this kid on, and I got to give him a fair shake, which I think he did, which was cool. But with Piers, I don't think it's this deep, let me fight the establishment to have on the truth about Israel. I think Piers is like, let's get two pro-Israel people, two anti-Israel people. They'll scream at each other and rip each other's heads off metaphorically. And I'll just sit there and be like, tea and crumpets. I never thought of it that way. Wow. Whoa, I got 1 million views. It's like he just wants people to yell at each other. It's hard for me I don't watch his show because I know that's what it is. And I don't know. I already know, like, it's not like I know everything, but it's like I already know what these people think, and I already know what these people think. Like, what do I got to watch them yell at each other? Cenk Uygur be like, it's a genocide, and then she's gonna be like, you're an anti-Semite, and he's like, say that to my face. He had on Randy Fine and Cenk Uygur, and Randy Fine was like, just call me dirty, and then Cenk's like, oh, you're playing the victim card. Oh, you're an it's like, oh, you're anti-Muslim. Oh, you're an anti-Semite. All right, we get next. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is that going to do for me? Like watching Randy Fine and Cenk Uygur like scream at each other on Piers Morgan. It's a funny concept. It definitely works, but and it is entertaining, I guess. For whatever reason, I'm just not inspired to like ever click on that, But I get why you would. It's not like I'm above it. I guess I'm over it, Like I get it. It's like here's two people who hate each other. It's really like I was debating stuff like 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I'm not Piers Morgan level, and I don't have like the pull to get as many people as he has on. So he kind of took that concept and went like, I won't say extreme, but it's like, let's host any debate possible. And it's like, it's a good format. Controversy gets clicks. Anomaly definitely knows that. Yeah, but I don't really do. I mean, like the truth is controversial. So like, I'll just post like Trump lying and people are like, oh, you're just posting that for clicks. But when I post something pro-Trump that gets clicks, I'm not posting that for clicks. Like, I don't know. Yes, I post things on Facebook hoping people see them because that's the new structure of how it operates. They don't really show long form videos, but like, am I posting certain things just for clicks? Some things, but not what people think I'm posting for clicks. Like things that I care about, I'm not posting to be controversial. I actually like them. The things that I'll post for clicks will just be like basic news that everyone's saying, like the basic stuff. It's almost like people have it wrong. And then when I post like Thomas Massey, they're like, you're just doing that for clicks. Or like Marjorie Taylor, oh, you're doing that for clicks. No, I want people to see this because I believe it. I don't post things I don't believe unless it's like me posting Bernie Sanders or Gavin Newsom or Trump to be like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And, I want to show, I don't want to just show what Trump is saying. I kind of want to show like other things if I think they're funny or something or worth like making fun of. But as far as like every time people accuse me of doing something for clicks, it's always the things I'm the most passionate about. If I'm posting about like a storm in Jamaica or like some daily news or something, it's like, yeah, that it's not just for clicks, but it's like, that's something that is, I'm posting just to like stay relevant with the news. And, there's a huge storm going on in Jamaica. I do the news. I feel like it's worth a post. It's not like I'm just doing it like, let me just make money off clicks. It's more just like, this is relevant. I haven't posted anything about this. It's not really in my wheelhouse, but I'll go find a post about it. It's the things I really care about that people are like, oh, you're just hating on Trump because of clicks. If I wanted clicks and money, it's easier to promote Trump than it is to question him. Although I will say for a long time, questioning Trump on the Israel topic was not popular for 5 years, but I did it anyway. Now it is becoming more popular, but I did it when it wasn't popular. So it's like, if you think I'm doing it just for clicks, I could show you my views from 2019 when it was literally the top 1% of the worst videos. Anytime I talked about the speech laws, nobody cared, but it didn't stop me from posting about it. And I will say this too. I know for a fact that some news companies, they do stop talking about things that don't get clicks. I've never once said, hey, this topic doesn't get clicks, I'll never talk about it again. But most news things do that. They say, no matter how important this is to me, if it's not translating on my YouTube channel, then I can't keep talking about it. I'm the opposite. I'm like, I'll talk about this for 6 years. And that's where I'm not trying to talk down on others, but I do really believe this. Like I do, if you look at like when Patrick Bet David had Nick Fuentes and when Tucker had Nick Fuentes and when Piers Morgan started talking about people, I'm not dissing any of them because I like I like Piers Morgan the least out of all of them, but like I really like Tucker. Patrick's been pretty cool to me somewhat. I like Patrick. I don't dislike him, but we've had our little moments, but it's okay. But it to me, it does seem more like, oh, this is really hot right now. Like who was talking about that in 2019 when it cost you your job, when it cost you everything, when nobody was clicking on it and it prevented you from making millions of dollars. A lot of us did that. And then it's like, as soon as Nick Fuentes is allowed, now everybody wants to talk about him. You get what I'm saying? It's not a competition, and I'm not shitting on other people, but I do think there is something to be said about people that did it before it was profitable. I took the ultimate risk talking about this stuff when I knew for a fact that it would lead to me not being able to make a lot of money, but I still did it. And now that it makes more money, people have it on. I just think Piers Morgan and a lot of people are not doing things for the reason of this is really meaningful, more like this is really profitable. And, I could do two things at once. I could make profit and I could talk to this guy. But, that's how I think about a lot of things. And I'm not trying to, damn it, I went past 2 hours. I wasn't trying to, but with like, say, Patrick, like I know Patrick, I've met Patrick, we almost did something together. We've talked, he's called me on the phone. I know Patrick, right? I know, and this is no disrespect, it's just the reality of it. If there was ever a huge viral moment where I was like, I was going to get 1 million views or 5 million views, he would call me in a second to be like, Anomaly, come on my show. But if there's not that moment where it's like, I don't know how many clicks this is going to get, like maybe I'm good for clicks, maybe I'm not, then that doesn't happen. Piers Morgan blocked me because of COVID stuff. Tucker, I don't know. I like Tucker. So who knows if we'll ever cross paths, but I do think that's just what I'm seeing in the media space. There's going to be a change in narrative right now, which is fine. I think when the Overton window shifts and everybody starts doing something, it's a good thing. But I guess this is just my thought too, with like someone like a Vivek. It's like you came out of nowhere. Now you're running for president. Now you don't even believe what you said a year ago. It doesn't seem organic to me. It doesn't seem like, oh, you just woke up now and now you're a Republican. It seems like, oh, the power has shifted. I wrote a book about Trump being like Mike Pence, but now that Trump didn't go away, now I don't believe that. It doesn't check out to me. So, it's not a competition. It's not to say people can't change, but I guess I was responding to a post. I don't know why I talked about it for that long, but someone was like, you're doing things for clicks. At a certain point on Facebook, I post way more picture posts than I normally would because it is a monetization structure. And it's also like, you can't post live streams like I used to. They're not paying for videos and they're just not showing them to people. So I've had to get creative with how and what I do while trying to do the same thing. But yeah, I just find it funny that like every time I do something super meaningful or like the most important thing to me, people are like, you're just trying to stir up Trump supporters. No, if I wanted to, like, even sponsorships, there's more sponsorships when you're just like trumped out and you could sell them Trump stuff. Like, I don't know that it's necessarily like good for business to question him, but I've never, like, I'll make it good for business. You know what I'm saying? I've been in business for 10 years. I've had ups, I've had downs. I'm all in with what I believe. Like if it gets 5,000 views, so be it. If it gets 100,000 views, so be it. If 1 million people see it, if 10 people see it, if I think it's true, I'm not going to stop posting the truth. I might sprinkle in less important news stories among them just to get people to pay attention and talk about it. But I'm never going to like move off of what I believe to be true in order to make more money, where I don't think everyone's like that. I don't think that that's like a commonality in the space, but I think a lot of people can see who is that person because like time will kind of tell all. And even this year and last year, I would say this before I leave. If people really thought, not that I have to like defend myself, but I like talking, I like talking about stuff. So if this is the topic, I don't mind it. If I was really like super opportunistic about like all this stuff, I talked about it for 6 years before anybody did. And then now it's like mainstream conversation. I'm not really cashing out that much on this. Like, you don't see me all over the place. You don't see me like, I do my own show and I tell people my story because it's relevant to the thing. But it's like, am I really like running around? Like, for example, like Dave Smith, and I like Dave, and there's nothing wrong with what Dave's doing. I like Dave. There's no shade, but like clearly Dave is cashing out on being the guy that debates Zionists. Nothing wrong with it. I like Dave. I think he's got good intentions, but it's like he's everywhere because they know he'll go on Piers Morgan. He'll go here. He'll do this. So like he's that guy. I'm not mad he's that guy. I think he's a good guy to be that guy. I think he's earned it. I think he deserves it. I think Dave has been underrated for a long time. So I have no issues with him doing it. It's just like, if I really cared so much about like capitalizing on something I've been talking about for 6 years that I wasn't getting paid for, don't you think I'd be doing more of that? And I think Dave is cashing out on it, but I think Dave should cash out on it. Like, Dave took a risk to take these talking points when it didn't pay, when nobody watched his show, and he was criminally underrated for like 5 years, and like his views were really low, even though he was always like a really interesting guy. And now Dave is like very in demand in the media world. It's all deserved. There's nothing wrong about it. I don't think he's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying I'm not doing that. And it's a personal choice as well as just like a timing choice, I think you do what you're inspired to do. He has the inspiration to really go that hard and go all over the place about it. I kind of follow my inspiration about like how to operate in this world and what to do and what not to do, and how hard to try to do certain things and stuff. And, I guess it's just two different paths. One's not better than the other. I'm just saying that if I actually really was just doing things for clicks and stuff, there's like a million other things I could be doing, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. I just find it funny. People are always like, you're posting Thomas Massey a lot. Yeah, because Trump and his donors are spending millions of dollars against Thomas Massey. So I want to post him more. You're edgy with Trump because you just want views. Do you think that's the most viewed thing that I do? Like, do you think someone just runs to me when I criticize Trump and just throws money in my face or something? I don't really think it has worked that way for me. So I get it, but the things that I post that I'm not that passionate about is probably more on Facebook, where I'll post like 30 times a day. I don't post things that I wouldn't ethically post. It's not like I'm doing something immoral. It's just like the monetization structure is there. So I post more than I normally would. Like, if I only posted things that really mattered the most to me, I'd probably post twice a day. Look at my Twitter. I barely tweet anymore. That's what I think about the most. Facebook, it's more like I'm a news aggregate. So it's like, not only am I posting the things that I think and want, I'm also trying to aggregate the news. And I feel like I do a pretty good job of it. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I'll post Thomas Massey. I'll post Marjorie Taylor Greene. But I'll also post Mark Levin and AIPAC, and not because I agree with Mark Levin and AIPAC, but I don't want to just show people Marjorie and Thomas all the time. I want to show them Gavin Newsom. I want to show them Trump. I post Trump because he's the president. When he makes statements, I post those. If Gavin Newsom says something funny, I post that. I like to just, it's like you can come and see everything and then make decisions for yourself. But that's part of my worldview as well. When I log into X, it's not like all I see is Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I see Mark Levin. I see, Bernie Sanders, and I see Elizabeth Warren. So that's more what I'm doing on Facebook. It's like I want to aggregate the daily news and bring the things that I'm seeing to other people if I find it interesting enough. I don't screenshot everything on Twitter, or I don't think everything is newsworthy, but really, I'll say this too. The news used to be CNN. The news used to be Fox. People used to get their news just from the news, and the news used to be able to control the narrative. Now we're all, not just me, but all of us, we're able to create the news. So back in the day, you had to read CNN and Fox and see what they thought about Trump or Bernie Sanders or me or Thomas Massey. And that was the news. Here's what they say about these people. What I'm doing and what a lot of people are doing, although some people could be like, oh, it's not important or it's not this, we are the news now. So it's like, instead of seeing what CNN thinks about Gavin Newsom, you get to see what Gavin Newsom actually said. Here's what Trump actually said. Here's what Elizabeth Warren said. Here's what I'm saying. Here's what Marjorie Taylor Greene's saying. Back in the day, 95% of news would be, here's what CNN's saying Marjorie Taylor Greene said, and here's what Fox News is saying Marjorie Taylor Greene said. And the truth is, they would have lied about it, because Fox News probably hates what Marjorie's saying most of the time. And CNN probably hates what she's saying for a different reason, because Marjorie is bucking both parties essentially because she doesn't take donor money. So, as meaningless sometimes as it feels like, because it can feel like we're all just posting into the void and watching a bunch of nothing, we really have shifted the media. Think about what it was during COVID. It was so hard to get around mainstream media, and they censored so much. Now people don't listen to the news to get their opinions. They're getting their opinions from Facebook. And, a lot of people are really dumb on Facebook as far as like influencers, and, it's not much better than mainstream media, but if you could be better than mainstream media, I think then we're moving things in the right direction. So yeah, some influencers are completely mind numbing, but it's like, then it becomes an ethical thing. What is worse, a mind numbing Republican Trump worshiping influencer or Fox News and CNN? There's an argument to be made that it's just as bad. And there's an argument to be made that even though they're posting a lot of weird stuff, it's still slightly better than a few news corporations controlling the entire narrative and tricking us into war all the time. So, it's like progress is being made, but it doesn't always look as great as everybody thinks it is. But that's kind of how I think about Facebook too. It's like, yeah, not every post is like the most thrilling thing that I post if I post 30 times a day, because it's impossible to do 30 thrilling things. But I'm always trying to do it with my twist, have it be meaningful, and also just in general, like, we are essentially replacing the news. You don't need to see what Fox or CNN says about Trump. Here's what Trump says about Trump. This is what Trump said. Here's what I think about it. What do you think about it? It's not a bad formula. It gets a little weird sometimes, but yeah, it's not like, oh, just doing this for clicks and money. It's like, everything online is monetized to some extent now. So if you have a business online, like, let's just say I wasn't making money posting stuff or doing videos, or however I've made it over the last couple of years, yeah, I sell the hats and do stuff, but you don't see that many ads on my videos. I would like more, but I don't need more. So, when I'm in a meeting with like a company, it's like, do you want a couple thousand to do this, or do you want this? Do I want a couple $1,000s? Of course. Do I necessarily need it so desperately that I'll do something I don't really want to do? Not really. No, I'm good. So I turned down a lot of stuff. I would do it anyway, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, if you can generate revenue from somewhere else, then you don't need revenue from other places. It's, and as much as people want to think, oh, this and that, but it's like, let's just say my business was failing so bad that I wasn't making money on social media. Facebook wasn't paying me. My hats weren't selling. I had no income and I had no sponsors. Then I can't work. Then I have to go get another job. Might not be the worst thing in the world, or, some people might be like, good, go get a real job, which is fine. But in the media space, now Anomaly doesn't exist and he's not working full time, but other influencers are working full time that are getting donor money. And Fox News has a bunch of influencers and they get to buy somebody and pay somebody this much money to do that. So, it's not like I think I'm that special or anything, but I do think I am one of the very few people that has good intentions and doesn't sell out. So it's like, if I'm not generating income from somewhere to be able to do this and keep it going, then, in a way, it's like it's one less person doing it the right way and a lot more people coming to do it the wrong way. Because if you're able to be bought, there's a lot of money to go around. There's countries, there's donors. You don't think they're paying people? You don't think the same people paying politicians are, paying people to work at certain places and say certain things? I don't know the full extent of it, but it's the number is definitely not zero, and just like you don't have to show if you're taking money from like I think it's like, they're trying to pass a law to say if you have dual citizenship, you have to show Congress your dual citizenship. Like, Marjorie's talking about that in the influencer world. Like, if you're taking direct money from a foreign nation or you're getting paid by like a nonprofit or something, like, people should be able to see it. I'm not really opposed to that because I think, I'm not fully aware of what everyone's doing, but I do know in like 2018, people would call me that I was friends with and be like, can you talk to them? They're doing this and that with the donors. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't have any donors. I don't go to donor meetings. First of all, don't bring your drama to me. But second of all, is that what you guys are doing? Because to me, I'm like, I'm just trying to make a business and make money and, you know what I'm saying, figure out a way to make this profitable. Meanwhile, all my competition is just sucking. Like, it's so hard to make a couple $100,000, $100,000, whatever, 10,000, any money, name any money, weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever. It's really hard to make that without taking money from donors or selling a lot of products or doing like ad placements. Think about how many ad placements I've done compared to other influencers of my stature. I do like the least, right? It's so hard to generate revenue when you're not taking donor money. I didn't even know that people did that. Like, until someone complained about something to me, which they shouldn't have, but it's just like in general, I'm like, oh, no wonder why I'm busting my ass doing all these videos, like really putting my work in. and you make like one video a year, like, but you're running some sort of organization. Like, I never understood, like, how are you able to do that? Because I have to work in order to like get paid like everybody else. Like, I can't just show up to work one time a year and make 6 figures. Like, I gotta like literally work like 50 hours a week to do that. But they weren't doing it. And I was like, oh, this was 2018. I'm like, oh, there's a whole world of politics that I don't fully get into, where it's like there's nonprofits, there's institutes, there's think tanks, there's donors, and it makes sense. I guess I just never thought of it before 2018 that if you have a huge influence, it's worth a lot of money. There's billionaires that nobody likes. And right now they can't, people don't trust them, right? Like, nobody trusts the elites, nobody trusts the media, but they trust these influencers. So they started at one point paying the influencers. So it's like, if you see, I'm not saying you should never falsely accuse somebody, I don't think, if you can't prove it, but I think it's okay to be suspicious, where it's like, if you see an influencer who's generally really honest and they have a crazy gaping hole in their credibility on one topic, it's like, why are you so dishonest about that topic? Like, like I said, I don't accuse anybody that I don't know, but I know for sure that I heard from an influencer, or like, the donors are doing this and she's doing that and he's doing that. And I'm like, you guys are fighting over donors? I'm here busting my ass doing videos, trying to run a business, and you guys are just probably making more money than I make all year from 2 donors. It's like, it's frustrating, but at the same time, it's something I've been thinking about too. I've been talking to you guys about it. I want to build a better business so I have people to work with, but also have a more, if I could structure my business a little bit smarter and not like, and make money without that, then it takes away a lot of issues. Because the amount of like labor I have to do to make as much money as I'm making, it's a lot of labor. Anytime I stop doing the labor, the money goes away. Like, I don't want to do a donor thing. I would never do that. But I do want to figure out a way where I'm able to do passionate stuff, but lower the labor of what I'm doing. Because it's almost like unsustainable. Where these people, it's like, yeah, they talk to 3 people, they make 6 figures, and they literally just do nothing but run around the country and just convince you that they're not doing it. Like Cat Williams said, the number one rule of people in Hollywood, or the number one thing they're doing, is like to convince you that they're not doing that. Like, it's so true. Someone said I have to talk about tariffs more, talk out against them. I've come to the conclusion that I don't agree with the tariffs, and I think they're cringe, and I don't trust Trump. As far as what I can do about that, I don't know. I don't think me talking against them is going to do much, but I definitely could try to do a whole video about them. It's a very like fluid moving thing that it's hard to really like pin down. But anyway, appreciate you guys. God bless you. Let me know what you think in the comment section about the beginning part, about the Trump part. I will read some of the comments in the comment section, especially the ones that reach top comment. So try to be cool enough that everybody up likes you. If you don't, that's just the hierarchy of the world. Appreciate you. God bless you. Check out these hats on dreamrare.com. I promise you guys, these are the best quality hats that I've had. They're made in America. They're not like too thick or anything, but I'm just saying, like, you feel it. Take this hat and then take another hat that somebody gave you that's just shitty. You'll be like, wow, Anomaly has the best quality hats. These are real deal. Like, they're not thick, like they're gonna like make your head hot, but they're not like, people give me free hats all the time. They're always dinky and like falling apart. These ones are awesome, made in America, custom made, materials in America. God bless. God is great. And the God bless in black. And if you want a God bless beanie, check that out. Eventually, I might have other phrases on them, but for now, that's what it is. Appreciate